Yeah, they are.
Left or right-handed?
Got it. Hello and welcome to On The Esky for this beautiful Thursday night. I've got Peps and Monkey on my left. This is a sports podcast and we're going to get stuck in deep into this week's round 17 local football comps, being the NRL and AFL. We're going to take a look at the NBA playoffs. Well, actually, the finish of the playoffs into the final. There's Euros as well. We're up to finals in that too. Then the results in the Stanley Cup. We'll cover that. Whole bunch of news in the NFL and UFC as well. There's a bit of cricket happening. The Olympics are starting to warm up. Wimbledon's going on. So big show planned. But I think we'll start off with a shout of beer. Which one of you lads would like to go first?
You want to take it, Max?
Yeah, I can go first. So this week I am shouting a beer to Paddy Mills and Kate Campbell. Today announced flag bearers for the Australian Olympic team. Paddy Mills, I suppose in line with NAIDOC Week here in Australia, first Indigenous sports person to carry the flag at the Olympics. And Kate Campbell, no slouch herself, is the first female swimmer to carry the flag. So, hats off to them to be able to represent our country like that and being recognised for their talent in their respective sports. And next round is on me.
Indeed. I wonder if they can sneak a beer in. But the Olympics are only a couple of weeks away. You'd think maybe afterwards, but
maybe afterwards.
They're on you when they can have one.
Hopefully, we can celebrate a couple of gold medals.
Indeed. We'll take a bronze actually in the basketball.
We'll take a medal.
We'll take anything in the basketball. Yeah. I would like to shout a beer or possibly another substance to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. They have removed cannabis from their list of banned substances. This is massive. So essentially it means that UFC fighters will no longer be done for weed. There's a lot of UFC fighters that train and fight out of Las Vegas. The majority don't, but there's a lot that do. So it means they won't have a Sha'Carri Richardson kind of situation. We'll get to that a little bit later. They just were pretty much like, it's not a performance-enhancing drug. Just don't show up for your fights high. But outside of that, they're not going to penalise athletes for smoking weed. So Nate Diaz probably cheated about that.
Both Diaz brothers, definitely.
Amongst others.
Yeah, of course.
Amongst a few others, definitely, How about
so,
you, Sean?
So my beer is Shohei Ohtani. I want to shout him out for he's an MLB pitcher and the leading home run hitter for the season so far. He's been picked in as a pitcher and a positional player in the All-Star.
Yeah, pitcher and designated hitter.
Designated hitter. So, and the very first time that's ever happened. So we had a quick chat before. Some of the comparisons they kind of talk about as imagine if Tom Brady had played middle linebacker as well at an elite level while also playing quarterback. I think the better comparison of a roughly similar sport with bat and ball, let's call it that, would be something like Steve Smith and Mitchell Stark or Kohli and Bumrah. They were the same bloke and then it did both at that elite kind of level. So it's pretty impressive. He's of course massive in Japan. He's absolutely dominating in the NBL at the MLB at the moment. So that's really impressive to see.
Sure is. Definitely. It's one of the most outstanding cases of being elite. two ways. You wouldn't read about it. It's absolutely obscene for a pitcher to be leading the MLB in home runs. So
yes.
Shohei Ohtani, enjoy your Asahi or Sapporo or whichever beer of your choice.
Or maybe some Japanese whiskey, either one.
Shout out to Suntory if you're listening. They big whiskey big on whiskey in Japan.
Yeah.
Anyways, we must move forward.
Yeah, and before we tackle, I guess, the news, we should probably cover the two games that have just kicked off for us.
That's a great idea. Yep. Thursday night here in Australia, we have got in the rugby league, the Manly Sea Eagles are taking on the Canberra Raiders. They're only just 8 minutes into this game. Manly, 9 wins, 6 losses. The Raiders, their season is pretty close to done.
That's already done.
At 5 and 10.
If you saw them play against Titans last week, they're done.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights, and there weren't many for Canberra. Let's put it that way.
No.
On the other side of things, Manly's coming off their biggest win in club history over the hapless Canterbury Bulldogs last week. Tommy Turbo hat-trick, Jason Saab hat-trick. Ruben Garrick scored 30 points by himself. So it was Ruben Garrick 30, Canterbury 0. He had 2 tries, 11 of 11 with his goal kicking.
He's got 14 tries this season already.
Yeah,
so he's been pretty impressive. Plus kicks all the goals for him.
Well, and he's super accurate. He's super accurate. And
As Manly scored the first
right
goal.
on cue, Dylan Walker has busted through. He's playing 7 tonight for Manly. Obviously, DCE out playing Origin. They also will miss Tommy Turbo, and the Raiders are only missing Jack Whiten.
Yeah, no Jake Turbo as well. They're Turbo-less.
Yes.
Oh,
No, they got Ben Turbo.
Ben Turbo.
There's always at least one.
Yeah, they got the youngest Turbo coming off the bench later. So, did you catch that Canberra Titans game? It was 44-6.
No, I didn't need to torture myself watching that shit. So.
Well, we all tipped it. I honestly thought at home against a Gold Coast team which has been really leaky in defence, I thought the Raiders might have come away with this one. It was Jordan Rapinen's 150th. It was Sammy Williams' 100th game. If they wanted to get up for anything, it should have been this game. The season on the line, like we said, it was do or die for both teams last week, and they got absolutely pants in front of their home crowd. The most disappointing thing, I think, for Raiders fans was David Fafita went to the bin.
And they scored 2 tries, didn't he?
They scored 3 tries when they were a man down.
Yeah.
Or they were a man down. So there's something seriously wrong going on at the Canberra Raiders at the moment. And to make matters worse, Bailey Simonson did a toe. He's out for 6 weeks.
Turf toe, by the looks of it,
which is not what you want. Elliot Whitehead's out tonight. He had a head gash and some kind of shoulder niggle, and Jack Whiten out playing Origin. Boys, tell you what, it's dire straits for the Raiders, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we could probably talk away a bit more when we get to the margins section of the NRL about because I've got some thoughts on how teams are built, and the Raiders, I think their team's not built for the way rugby league's been played at the moment. But
that's strange because they were in a grand final less than 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's how quickly things can change.
Sure thing. Yeah.
But this I picked Manly, and I think Manly by a lot. If it's not a 40-point margin, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
I was thinking, though, DCE and Tommy Turbo were going to play. So maybe I'll pare it back and say 30 points.
What did you, with the Turbo, did you have it at about 50?
Yeah. I think if Manly are not in front by 20 minutes, I'd be very, very surprised.
Right. I've got Manly as well. I was hoping without the wrecking ball that is Tommy Turbo that Canberra might be able to keep it amicable, but I've got Manly here.
Yep.
So on the flip side, in the other league, we've got
fuck
Monkey.
Monkey can go get fucked, I guess.
I picked Manly going.
It was
3 minutes.
It was a given anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, enough about that. Let's talk about an actually good contest. We've got 2 of the premier teams both top 4 at the moment. Yeah. So we've got the Melbourne Demons taking on Port Adelaide. They're almost at the end of the first quarter, both on equal points at 14. D's look like they've had a bit of a run of it, and then Port have counterpunched so far as D's just score a quick goal to take them up to 2014. But it's looked like a good contest from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, well, this is matchup of the round. Second plays 4th. Talking about Port Adelaide, Ollie Wines had 43 touches and a goal last week. Definitely got the 3 votes.
Water is wet.
Well, I was saying last week, and Macca was poo-pooing me that he could be a genuine shout for the Brownlow, but he keeps he's not doing himself any harm. That's for sure. The way he's been playing, and Charlie Dixon kicked 4. The big knock on Port Adelaide is that they're flat track bullies. They haven't beaten anyone above them, and their only wins against top 8 sides, I think, was Sydney only because Richmond's dropped out. Melbourne,
but also very strong in Adelaide, which...
Of course, massive home ground advantage. Full house over there at the Adelaide Oval. You've got to quarantine for 2 weeks, by the way, if you go there, but we can't have 50,000 at a footy game. Anyways, for Melbourne, they have lost a few games so far, which you wouldn't have expected. Most recently against the Giants last week. They only managed 55 points, 7 goals. That was their lowest total for the year.
What was interesting in that, I think, of their inside 50s, Max Gawn was their biggest target.
Really?
So I think and we kind of talked about it last
We
week.
have alluded to it.
Yeah, how do you fit someone like, say, Ben Brown in that? But if your biggest man is getting all the targets coming in, is might as well add another big guy into that forward line.
And
so
that's what they've done tonight. Ben Brown is in the side.
Yeah, so
will he be able to have an impact for the D's?
We'll have to see.
It's a tall ask though, because they've got Lever and May back there, Jake Lever and Steve May, two of the premier tall defenders in the league. So one of them will go to Charlie, and one of them probably floats around back there. Mate, it's a really enthralling contest tonight.
As we go to quarter time at 2014.
Yeah.
So who'd you pick? Because I've got the D's.
I went Port at home, and the fact that the D's have dropped these games against, your Adelaides, your Collingwoods, your GWS. They had that red-hot start to the season where they didn't lose a game for about the first 10 rounds. But, yeah, I think at Adelaide Oval, I've gone Port Adelaide, but it's definitely the matchup of the round, and looking forward to watch it unfold in front of us tonight on the pod.
Definitely. And Mark, who'd you pick?
Oh, you're asking me this time?
Yes, yeah. I was thinking maybe Peps would move on, and I was like, I'll do the gentleman thing and include you in this one.
Poor bloke down the end, his chopped liver.
Just dropped me off already. I've gone D's as well.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely
2-1.
Interesting game.
Yeah.
With no Macca tonight, there shan't be any Desmond Tutus, so yeah, unless someone wants to be ballsy and go a draw.
Yeah, I was going to say it could go the draw, but I mean, if there's a game for a draw, possibly.
There
Yeah, very, very difficult in the AFL. Although I think there's been just as many in the AFL. I think there's been more in the AFL than in the NRL this year. That's one for you. All right, shall we go back? That's the two games that we'll watch unfold as we do our podcast tonight.
Yeah, let's go back to NRL, the Bumhole League. And
Yeah, your favourite at the moment.
yes,
Fired up.
let's talk some more stupidity of what's been happening. And I think it's your boys, Peps, so you might want to take it away. What naughtiness have the Dragons been
Well,
up to?
you'd been living under a rock unless you hadn't heard of the naughtiness that the boys got up to on the weekend. It's been done to death. And I've still got the hat on. I don't abandon my side after a little bit of hardship. Paul Vaughan on Saturday night hosted 12 of the boys for a party at his place.
After their Golden Point win.
So Friday night was a Golden Point win against the Warriors. We'll have a little dive into that a bit later.
Yeah. I think basically afterwards he just said, who wants to come back to my place?
This is Saturday.
This is Saturday.
The next
So
night.
like next
and
night,
they're going into a bye, you know what happens on a bye week. Bloody few scooey moi-mois get deleted. So he said, come back to mine. Really, he was being a good bloke.
Yeah, let's have a barbecue, just hang out with the boys.
Outside of the fact that it's against the law at the moment in New South Wales, they didn't only break the NRL's COVID protocol. They broke the state laws at the moment. Look, stupid, selfish, short-sighted. A few of the words that were getting thrown around. A few of the big players that were at the party and will get one match suspensions: Corey Norman, Jack DeBellin, Zach Lomax. Jack Bird, just to mention a few of the 12. The Dragons the NRL tiered the fines. So the higher paid players copped hefty fines, 50 grand.
Well, I think it was repeat offenders as well. So Corey Norman had the dust up at the start of the year.
Yep.
Paul Vaughan had the COVID breach last year.
Yep.
I think Jack DeBellin got a higher one because he kind of lied about being there.
Hiding under the bed.
And originally said...
That spawned some funny memes this week, didn't it?
Definitely.
That Simpsons one with bars. There may be Jack DeBellin or other Dragons under your bed. That one got me, as a Dragons fan that was a little bit shocked and appalled by this. I had to have a chuckle at that one.
Yeah. So... And
obviously the big story is Paul Vaughan suspended for 8 weeks initially, and then the Dragons just came out on Tuesday and tore up his contract. He was off contracted at the end of the year, so they've just gone, sorry mate, second offence. off contract at the end of the year. We had to make a decision if we wanted to keep you, and essentially you've made that for us.
Exactly. He was probably underperforming and overpaid on like $800K
Possibly,
a year.
yeah.
So,
And we are talking about a bloke that was playing Origin in 2019.
and played for Australia.
Yeah, and I don't think he's been that bad. He just hasn't quite been who he was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, the day he got sacked, he was on NRL 360 like a man, apologising, and I'm not defending their actions. I'm not to break the state law during COVID when people are losing their jobs and everyone else is, trying to obey the law was idiotic. But I think the way that he took it, and he goes, okay, I'm going to take an interview on the Tuesday night, the day that I've been sacked, and apologise and cop it on the chin. Look, you can't hate on the bloke for that.
I know, but the flip side of that is he does have an agent. His agent trying to rebuild his career. They would have said, we got to go. We got to do the apology. YouTube's great for the YouTube apology, so you've got to remarket yourself to try and get the next contract. Exactly. So,
well,
I thought was really interesting, and I just mentioned before, like he played for New South Wales, he played for Australia, but isn't part of the leadership at the Dragons. And I think one of the anonymous players at the Dragons kind of put out and said, that's all you need to know about Paul Vaughan. So he was
that's
like,
a lot of speculation for mine.
Hey, well, there was a few players anonymously coming out through the media saying, it's broken the club, it's broken the playing group. Tarek Sims in Origin camp said, "No, we'll be right, we'll be good." I'm just glad all three of the Origin boys had the smarts that they were chuffing off to go up to Origin camp to get away from that. So,
well, I mean, you talk about smarts, like there's 13 players there. Surely one of them had to be like, "Hey, this probably isn't the best idea." Like.
Yeah, where's
how do you get to this stage? Like, I know we put all the shit on Vaughan, and he gets sacked and
scapegoated.
He's scapegoated, but then how did it get to this point as well? Like,
and look, it was a few of the old heads that weren't there. Was the upcoming Origin camp?
They're back in
on the minds of your Ben Hunt and your Andrew McCulloch and your Tarek Sims. Or a few of the younger players that didn't go, your Cody Ramseys, your Braden Williami, did they get the text saying party at Vaughan and going, oh, well, maybe that's not the best idea, I won't go.
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate, and again, I'm wearing a Dragons hat, I'm with Dragons through and through. And look, it's put serious implications on our season, and a season 100%. Where no one expected us to do anything, and we sitting 7th, we're a good a shout to make the 8.
I think the other bit as well is like not just Dragon season, but the NRL season was what they were super worried about. But to play because they've got exemptions at the moment to continue playing.
But to play devil's advocate, if there was no one else at his place, which seems to be all the reports, there's no actual difference really than them training or playing footy. They're coming into contact with guys that they see all the time. And look, I'm not condoning. Like, don't clip that and say, more on YouTube with no followers condones the behaviour of Paul Vaughan and Dragons. But on the flip side, I am kind of saying possibly that's going through their head, saying, look, we've obeyed all these rules and we are being held to a slightly different standard than the general public.
Yeah, compared to some of the other stories that come out of NRL.
Correct.
This is
and there was a massive hoopla. Really, and I can see where people are coming from. They put the league in jeopardy, blah, blah, blah. The
entitlement of like everyone else is doing the right thing while
that's right. It does come across as a little bit selfish and entitled, doesn't it? I'll tell you what, who I don't have any time for, Ray Hadley. So on the same night that Paul Vaughan has showed up for an interview, the day that he's been sacked and given his time, Ray Hadley.
Well, it was Paul Vaughan had the interview with Ray Hadley in the team,
correct,
and then straight after that, he
went nuts. Yeah. he just went nuts and essentially tried to crucify the bloke. But I don't know, the way that it comes across, it just seems a little bit disingenuous for mine.
Yeah.
So
and back to
headlines.
Well, headlines. But back to anyone that listens to Ray Hadley seriously and appreciates.
A lot of people do, unfortunately.
Well, I'd love to sit down and chat with one of those people and ask him, was it a volcano or a meteorite that killed the dinosaurs? Because they must have been there.
Yeah, Ray was definitely there.
They must have been there. They managed to slither under and avoid whatever wiped at the dinosaurs and survive.
What are you saying? He's a cockroach. So
Yeah, and not in a good kind, not in a New South Wales Blues kind of way, but geez, it's grub journalism.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk a bit more about journalism and how the media is kind of portraying the league when we get a bit later into some of the other stories. But I wanted to finish off some interesting points out of this. It looks like Vaughan's going to be allowed to serve his suspension without a contract, so he just can't play for the next 8 rounds, which is different to Cantoni Staggs because they added an extra 2 rounds to him after his injury and when he was actually allowed to play. So bit interesting, but we'll see what happens with that. Did you think all the suspensions and fines were
outside of Paul Vaughan? Everyone else has got off pretty easy. Let's be honest. 1 week.
Yeah, 1 week.
Norman and DeBellin copped some pretty heavy fines.
I still think DeBellin got off pretty easy considering everything that the investment that St George's put into him the last couple of years.
The fact that he lied the most,
hid under a bed.
He lied the most about
where he was. Some great memes come out of it.
So,
yep.
The memes. We love the memes.
No, but in all seriousness, and coming from a Dragons tragic, I do think the rest of the boys got out of this pretty well. One game, rotating suspensions, which is interesting as well. And me and Monks were talking about it on the way here to the pod. That might actually be more hurtful to the Dragons campaign than just going. So they have
10 blokes 1 week.
1 week. We'll just play a reserve grade side. They play Manly next week, and we just get pumped.
So the reason they couldn't do that is they couldn't get reserves into the bubble because they have to sit out for 2 weeks.
Right.
So that's why they've given
another fake COVID rule.
Yes. Sorry, I did think why don't they just take 1 round? It was because of that because they couldn't actually get enough players into their bubble to actually play.
All right.
So that's why they've rolled it across. 2 to 4 weeks.
2 to 4 weeks is what they're going to do.
Yeah. So 12 guys, 4 weeks,
and they've signed.
They're going to miss 3 players each game for the next 4 weeks. So no guarantee of playing finals now.
And they've signed 1 or 2 blokes. I think not Jansua or Pungai Junior. Possibly 2 other guys. I think just to help fill in spots.
Right.
That were either.
Why did you have Sewer and TPJ on your mind?
Because Jan Sewer has signed with the Dragons.
Yeah.
And
TPJ's they're targeting him.
He targeted him and Bulldogs. He looks immediate. Like within the next week or 2, he'll be at one of those clubs.
We're going to be good next year.
Yes.
I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
Francis Molo coming down as well. They're going to have a good pack.
So speaking of this year, do you still think they make the finals after all this?
Very difficult. And I think we play South twice going in. I think we play the Roosters once. Very difficult. And that's,
you play Storm and Penrith. I think they've got the hardest run home. So I don't think they make the final.
I don't think they play Melbourne and Penrith. Can you look that up?
Look at their final round.
I know they play South twice and they play the Roosters once.
Yeah.
They got Manly,
Titans, Roosters. Rabbits. Then Raiders,
winnable.
Panthers, Roosters, Cowboys,
winnable.
Rabbitohs.
That's a hard run home.
Yeah.
So Rabbits.
They might win 3. Titans, Raiders, and
Cowboys.
Realistically.
Realistically. And then they've got the Rabbits twice, the Panthers, and the Chooks.
Yeah.
So look, 3 and 4 probably gets you in.
Yeah. Well, what
do they do anything in week 1 of the finals when they come up against a Manly or a South?
Yeah, they sneak in 7 or 8 and they get smoked.
Yeah. and that's the counter as well, is that all these diehard St George Illawarra fans who stick by through thick and thin, and there was a bloody GoFundMe page that got started to help the boys out with their fines. That's the counter argument to me being devil's advocate before saying, is it the worst thing that's ever happened in the NRL?
No.
The counter to that is you've got all these diehard fans who want to see you guys succeed, and you've put your season in jeopardy over it.
Yeah.
So
well, Anthony Griffin was livid, of course.
He was ropeable. Yeah.
He's tried to build this club. He's got them into a position where they could play finals footy, and then they've gone and done this and fucked themselves. So,
anyways, time will tell.
Yes.
Time will tell the impact. Vaughany's lost his job. The other boys come out relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
Let's move forward.
Get stuck into the big game?
No, I think before we do that, we mentioned it before. the blowouts.
Yeah, margins.
Let's do that. Let's do that first.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So last week, right?
We mentioned the Manly 66-point drubbing.
60, yeah, so that was the biggest win in Manly Seagulls history. And then there was 4 blowout games. So the Chooks, they got belted by Melbourne last Thursday night. Dogs and Manly. The Raiders got smoked by the Titans at home, and the Cowboys lost 38-0 to Newcastle. Those 4 games, the combined score, 194-6.
Yep.
Okay. And last week, the average in all the games was 32-9. Okay.
Yep.
So if you're a neutral viewer or, God forbid, a fan of one of those teams, why are you keeping the telly on? Why would you go to and support your teams when a lot of these games were over after about 25 minutes?
Yeah, and I think that's the stat. On average, it's about 20 minutes is within a try margin. So after close football or competitive football, there's only about 20 minutes of that. The rest of it's either by 2 or 3 tries is the margin. Yeah. So
the halftime scores have been ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah. So it's
and the winning margin. We've got the stat there. So the average winning margin is 19 points.
Yep,
19. Last year it was 15, and the NRL era the average is 11.
Yep.
So it's quite confusing on that data there,
not that one.
But I've got my head around it. I've got my head around it. Essentially, we're trending into bigger margins to put it into lay terms.
Yeah.
Is it the rule changes that are causing these blowouts, or just the good teams got really good talent and well managed, and the shit teams don't have that, or is it a blend of both?
No, I think it's heavily going to be favoured to rule changes because I think which probably will link these stories up because they're excellent reads to go through. So this one shows here like so far that I think it's about 63% of games 13 plus is the final result.
Yep.
Which is the most significant.
And what's the black there? 19 plus. So this year, 46% of the games are 19 points plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not fun to watch for the neutral viewer.
No. And looking at this chart here, that goes back to 2013. Same dude. He did it he went all the way back to 1908.
This is at NRL Fanalytics. Thank you for your data.
They went all the way back to 1908, and this season is by far worse than any other seasons. It's clear.
We need to post that graphic tomorrow because essentially it's showing that
Daily Telegraph stole this, by the way, and didn't quote him. So big shout out. We gave him a shout out. We'll quote him an at.
We'll add him. But yeah, and I tell you what, I love watching my Dragons. I love watching the Blues, especially this year. But outside of that, I don't want to watch Manly fucking put 66 points on the Bulldogs. Like, you can marvel at a Tommy Turbo or the skill of some of these guys, but as a less invested fan of those games, I'll fucking switch it across the AFL. Or, paint drying. I think that might look more interesting.
Definitely, and I think that's kind of going to be the big concern because, of course, the TV deals is the big thing. That's what pays for everything. Channel 9's going to be, we want viewership, we want people watching. The media, essentially the media that backs the league, considering the media pays for the league, so you kind of see how that goes, and then the heads of the league are driving down everyone's throats that, hey, it's working. We're getting more scores, more points. People want to watch points. I think everyone's kind of realised it's not the points. It's we want to see competitive football. So they talked about the 13-12 and what was it? I can't remember the score in the other game.
19-18 in the Dragons Warriors game.
How excellent was that? But that's the only 2 games.
And to be fair, the Dragons Warriors game was low quality in terms of
big time low quality.
But I'd rather watch a low quality drop ball scrappy game that's interesting. And the Penrith Parramatta game was high quality and close.
Yep.
So that's what they need to be aiming for.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea that the rule changes and these articles kind of cover it way more detail and better detail than we can, kind of showing how the say 6 again rule, the lesser penalties were kind of driving up possession and retention of possession, which is then essentially the teams that are more clinical and can defend well, will then hold possession and not be worried about the other team having possession, knowing they'll get it back, and essentially just controlling possession. And I think the stat was like roughly around the 15-minute mark is when say the weaker side will wilt.
Yeah, the floodgates open.
Yeah.
And if we talk to Queensland versus New South Wales, we talk
Origin,
1 and 2, it was right around that 15 or 20 minute mark. Queensland wilted, and then floodgates open. So it's really interesting. There's been talk about just the shit team shit. If, like I said, this is the worst year margin-wise since the creation of NRL as a professional sport. So I don't think it can be just the shit teams shit. That's the media beat up trying to say, hey, they just need to improve more talent.
Yeah, it definitely is a contributing factor, I think. But I think the larger factor is the rule changes. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I think it's clearly shown that Melbourne is probably one of the most professional NRL club. Is the I don't want to say the only, but I'll put it out there, like the only professional NRL club with the amount of analytics and other stuff they do. I think Penrith have kind of got to the point where they're the most talented club. They got the most talented roster. But you look what Storm are doing with the roster and the injuries they have. The interesting thing is they concede. I don't think they were second. They concede one of the most amount of set restarts. And so, you're like, if they're doing that, then how can they be so good? It's because they've basically fucking around with the rule, and they worked it out that, hey, if the opposition's within their 10 or within their half, we'll take the set restart. We can reset our defensive line because what Melbourne really good at, being clinical, they will defend really, really well, make you wilt under that pressure, get more possession, drive you down the corner, and then they'll just crumble you, make you do more defense than you could do attack. So for them, like conceding getting a set reset, slowing the ball down there is good for them because then it helps them reset their line and get ready for the next play. Again, Craig Bellamy, the coaching staff down there, has done an excellent job within the rules, and that's why they haven't lost a game in 13 rounds?
Yeah, since round 3. But can you reset your line in a set restart? It happens so quickly.
Yeah, but they're getting the set restarts because they're holding the ball down.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
so that few extra seconds you think.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there was a classic one in the Roosters game. They got a set restart. The Roosters got one on their 5-yard line. And it was like, Bennett and the Roosters guys were struggling to get back on side. But the Storm in that time, we reset, they had the entire squad there ready for a defensive line set. So in the next play, they rush up, get the tackle on the 5. And there's like, Roosters gained no benefit. Melbourne gained the benefit from that set restart. So
I think we can definitely agree. It's like Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, Craig Bellamy, the great thinkers of the 21st century, 20th century.
Because you look at that squad.
You don't want to throw in like a world leader or anything like that?
No,
Albert Einstein's in there. So.
Not too many of them think too well.
Current ones, yes.
We have to go back to Churchill, I think.
Yeah. But, it's really interesting to see what Melbourne are doing, considering Pappenhausen's been out since round 6.
Yep.
Cameron Munster's missed 4 games. Harry Grant's, I think, played 1 or 2 for them in total. Like, the big Cameron Smith's not there anymore. They've got no Cooper Crow, no Billy Slater. Like, they don't have
people were saying this was the year that Melbourne were gonna drop off.
No, and they've found, they've of course found guys, and Craig Bellamy's system really works, but they also, that's what I'm saying, they're probably the most professional, if not, I don't want to say the only, like they've taken guys.
Nico Hines.
Yeah, just a guy they found from nowhere.
Who the hell had heard of Nico Hines at the start of the year? I can say, and I love rugby league. I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard of him.
Imagine
what they're going to. Now he's in the New South Wales squad.
Yeah, imagine what they're going to do with Nick Meaney and Xavier Coates next year.
Yeah, they'll just turn him into superstars.
Yeah, so the rules, I think, are definitely contributing to it because teams are now trying to work it out. And I'll make this final point. And this was the comparison used in one of these articles. It was the NRL at the moment. It's very much like, imagine a boxing match without rounds. That's what it's like.
Yep.
One guy gets the ascendancy and he's just got it the entire time. A lot of the bad teams, and there's a lot of bad teams in NRL, a lot of teams that don't have enough talent or the coaching capability to keep in the games, where they needed those penalties essentially as a round so they could take a breather, reset, and try to get back into the game and get momentum. At the moment, there's no way for teams really to get into games, get into the grind. Even saw it with Queensland. They couldn't really get themselves into either of those games and grind it out. Whereas, the cheap penalty really helped them kind of, okay, rest, kick it out, reset, get some field position, and then try to get back into the game. Whereas you don't get any of that now. And, the good teams with a good halfback they'll either get their set restart, or they'll get into position, they'll kick it into in goal, get the repeat, rinse and repeat, score the try, get the ball kicked back to them. Hence why they wanted to change the kickoff rule, because they get the ball back, more possession, and then they just keep going.
Well, they attack nearly did that last week, and it got called back. Luckily, but
I tell you who did win out of this. They're doing Try July this month. It's for a really good cause. The Mossy Massoy appeal. He had a horrific spinal injury a few years ago, so a lot of that going to help him out. And there's a fuckload of points and a fuckload of tries. So I think they raised a bunch of money for that. But outside of that, that's probably the only silver lining. As a neutral viewer, it stinks watching three teams not score a point last round, and
people
the Raiders got spanked. It was crap.
Yeah, well, people are turning off. People are leaving the grounds early.
Yeah.
People aren't watching football. I don't think, outside of the two Origins and the games we watch on the podcast, I don't think I've watched a game since Magic Round.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to say there's no point, but it's just, if one team gets ahead after 20 minutes, it's like, well, I can go do something else now. Because there's no way to get back in a game.
I'm a bit more of a track than that, but I can say it does take away from the intrigue. Let's be honest.
#BombHole League.
We should move forward. Something that is decided, but there is Game 3 in the State of Origin upcoming. It comes around quick with these Sunday games, doesn't it? And a lot of changes to the team. So Newcastle, we had
so it's Sunday, yeah. So
it's Wednesday. It's
Wednesday, but Sunday was the last one. Yeah,
correct.
That's what I thought it was.
So New South Wales have had to make a few forced changes. We spoke last week about Nathan Cleary doing his shoulder, so they need a replacement for him. It was Mitchell Moses, who will debut at halfback.
Yep.
Jack Whiten into the 5'8" position because Jerome Luai's got an MCL, and that means that.
Yeah, worried about Penrith with those two out.
Yeah.
Considering, I think both those two in, they probably smoked the Eels, but with them out, they kind of brought them back into shooting distance for those teams in 3 and 4.
For sure. And with Jack Whiten into the starting side, it opens up the door for Api Coruscant to make his Origin debut as the 14. And Daniel Safidi has got sore ribs. So he's out. I think Dale Finucane will start and Payne Haas will come off the bench. Yep. And then for Queensland, do you want to run us through their team, Sean?
Did we say this is a Newcastle too? And they're going to have a maximum crowd of 20K. So,
yeah.
Again, great for Newcastle to get a game.
Again, COVID. What's the difference between 20 and 28?
I would have gotten it right this weekend. 75%. That's 20.
Derp. I don't know. Anyways.
So Queensland have had to make a couple of changes. Kalen Ponga, after his game last week for Newcastle, healthy, looking good. So he's going to come in and play fullback, puts Holmes on the wing. Kyle Fount gets dropped. I think that's a good combination. That's probably what we wanted game 1 and 2.
Yeah, you've been saying that you haven't really rated Holmes as a fullback, and the performances tend to show that, and the way Ponga played on the weekend, you'd think their team would be improved with KP wearing the 1. And then Hamiso Tabui Fido is going to get his first Origin start.
Cowboy speedster.
Yeah, he's very quick. That pushes Kirk Capewell back into the second row. Capewell's sort of been found out a little bit by Tommy Turbo in defence, and who wouldn't be? So this is bittersweet, isn't it? The bloke, he gets he's 19. He's only played 23 games for the Cowboys. He's going to play Origin, but then he's got to mark up on Tommy Turbo. So defensively, he's going to be a lot quicker than Capewell, but he's probably not going to have the same tackling efficiency as Kurt would. Do you think this is a good move for Queensland?
Yeah, well, you've lost a series at the point, and I think we talked about it last week as well. Maybe blood some of these young guys coming in, see what they can do, because you're kind of also trying to build for next year too. So
Sure.
yeah, what was interesting, Ben Hunt's going to be 9.
Yep.
So Andrew McCulloch out of the squad, I think, completely. AJ Brimson comes back in as 14. Didn't love that in the first game, so be interesting to see how that goes. Whether that's maybe a little bit of cover for Ponga in case he can't play the whole 80. Ponga actually may be more of a shout to move infield, essentially into the either into centres, or it could even play hooker. I think that's a better option for him because he's got a bit more size and a bit more ball playing than say what AJ does. So AJ could go play fullback.
He looked very ordinary as a hooker in game 1, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think the big story that came out today was bloody Jai Arrow. Did you hear about this?
What happened here?
Well, he's breached the Queensland COVID bubble. He's been fined. He's got a 2-game match suspension. He's brought a third-party female into the Maroons hotel. To me, it sounds like he just needed a route. I'm not sure if he's got a missus or anything back home. But yeah, it's
speculation.
Highly speculative.
Away from home, young fella, obviously hitting up the local Tinder.
Yeah.
Found some nice Sheila, and unfortunately, he's got himself in a bit of hot trouble.
Yeah, right.
In both ways. So. Well, if you're bringing a female into the club hotel, I know. I'm putting 2 and 2 here together. I think that's a simple math equation.
Where are they in camp at the moment? Do you know?
It'd have to be in Newcastle. Or either there or Brisbane. One of the two.
I don't think they'd be in Newcastle yet.
Not yet. I'll say it's in Brisbane somewhere.
So he brought someone in from a non-COVID affected area into their hotel. Again, this is playing devil's advocate, but I feel like he might have caught something else that wouldn't have been COVID.
True. They're all concerned about the NRL bubble, but essentially he's ruled out, so he's not going to be playing. I don't know who's going to come in to replace him yet.
Well, Francis Molo was the 18th man, so perhaps he'll get the nod.
Yes.
What do we think, boys? New South Wales last swept Queensland back in 2000. That was with Freddie Fittler, Joey Johns. And I was having a look at that Queensland side to see, the last Queensland side to get swept. I thought, they must have been, bunch of nobodies. That was strong. They had like Darren Lockyer was in that side. I think 7 Broncos as well.
Didn't they Queensland win 99 on the draw?
I feel like that's about right.
Yeah, so they had Dane Carlo and Tony Carroll, Darren Lockyer, etc. in the squad at that time. So yes, that team continued over, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were a bit banged up that following year. Going back to the previous knowledge from 22 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Monks, do you mind bringing up
Gordon Tallis, etc.
the stats? The odds.
Yep.
And I've said it before. I think New South Wales on paper much stronger, even without Luai and Cleary here. Maybe that with Ponga coming in, might lead to a closer encounter. But I still think New South Wales win this.
Yeah, I was more confident until the Jai shit happened, because that's just, I think, would have pissed a whole bunch of people off and annoyed them. If they had a good camp, it would have been a better situation. But I was more confident in this with the changes to New South Wales. I thought this would be better because if I'm picking the 2 halves, I'd pick the Queensland halves over the pick 2 for New South Wales. Jack Whiten, if you saw any of the Titans game, he was a bit of a turnstile.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And the former, the incumbent Dally M winner has really not shown too much.
Hasn't had a great year so far.
And then you've got a debutant playing 7.
Exactly.
But
I like their chances more in this one than I did the last 2.
Correct. Yeah. But I've also said, when you've got Latrell and Turbo playing centres the way that they've been playing and Teddy back there, I don't think it really matters that.
Yeah. As long as their forwards
wearing 6 and 7.
Yeah, if their forwards get a good platform, make it easy for them to get the ball out of those guys, then definitely. But it'll be, like I said, it'll be a possession game. Who can control it the longest? Who can grind out that first 15, and then you'll know pretty quickly who's going to win based on how the NRL games have been going this year.
You going to tip Queensland?
Yeah, I tipped Queensland on all 3. So
There you go.
I just might not come to Odin this time. I think it's cursed.
Maybe not. So New South Wales are favourites, $1.20. Queensland are out at $4.50.
Yeah, it should be.
Yep. Expecting to be a closer game, as we sort of alluded to. 14.5 is the line.
14.5 is close.
Closer than 26-0 and 50-6. So
Well, based on what we were saying before, you should, if you can pick the winning team, you just bet on the 13 plus because you're going to hit it on that 60% of the time. So
That's right. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, the way we've been going.
Yep.
and it's not too hard to pick winners, unfortunately, in the NRL at the moment.
No, it's not.
No.
Because
I got 7 out of 8 last week.
I think I got the same. So
Thanks to the fucking Raiders. That was the one that I got wrong. Anyways, there is NRL games this
There is
weekend.
football.
There's 4 of them.
4 of them. Let's get through them.
Manly
quickly.
and Canberra unfolding in front of our eyes.
Canberra actually in front.
The Raiders are up 12-4 at halftime.
What's interesting, watching that last 20 minutes, every time I looked down, Canberra had the ball. So it wouldn't surprise me if they dominated possession for that in that first half. Again, like I said, try to control the ball, get the set restarts.
For sure.
That's the game plan at the moment.
Joe McGrath, who's not with us here tonight, he actually tipped the Raiders here, and he thought they're due, and I have a skull bet on with him. So
Ooh.
I'll be intrigued as to how this second half plays out. We already gave the our tips and
Well, I
our
just
thoughts already,
just shout out to Xavier Savage to officially make his debut. He made his debut illegally a couple of rounds ago as the medical sub, where he shouldn't have been a medical sub.
why.
Because he came on after the half after someone got put on report not sin binned.
Right.
And then the Raiders thought that accounted to foul play, and
Yep.
the NRL match official there allowed him to go on as the medical sub. But after he played for 10 minutes, someone must have rung up and said, no, that's not allowed. That's not the rule. Had to take him off. So that was struck from the record, redacted. So he never actually hasn't made his debut yet. So
Strong Ronaldo Mulatalo vibes about this.
yeah. So he made his official debut tonight in this game playing fullback. Unfortunately, led in the first try, but he's doing all right.
I picked him up in a fantasy team, so hopefully he goes out in there and gets 80 points. Tomorrow, South and North Queensland up at Stadium Australia. South were 38-22 winners last week over West Tigers. It was 26-0 at half time.
Yep.
I think the big question around this game is South have got a lot of guys playing Origin, so
Is Benji playing hooker for him?
he might be. Yeah, if you have a look at those teams there, Monks, is Benji playing 9? Yeah, he's
nine,
listed. Yeah, Benji playing 9.
That crazy Wayne Bennett.
Nuts. 35-year-old impact half
Let's hope his shoulders are there.
is starting
Gonna make 50 tackles.
starting as a hooker.
Yeah.
So Damien Cook, the man he's replacing, Cam Murray, Latrell
Yep.
Mitchell,
Yep.
Jai Arrow,
Yeah.
and Dane Gagai all out for their Origin duties. The Cowboys actually also have a few guys playing Origin with Val Holmes, Francis Molo, and the Hammer Hamiso Tabui Fido. They got spanked last week by the Knights. The Kalen Ponga and Mitchell Pearce Knights are definitely a different Newcastle as to the team from a few weeks ago. I imagine we're all going South here.
Yes, Souths.
I've gone South.
Yep.
Maybe not by a lot with those guys out, but
Well, that's
They
what would be interesting for mine would be the line, Monkey, if you wouldn't mind.
Yep. Well, South are heavy favourites, $1.15. The Cowboys are out at $5.50. The line is 16.5.
Still a lot of points, but
but
if we're paying attention to those metrics, 19 plus is the average this year. 19 points.
Yep.
So might be a shout there tomorrow night from another close matchup to an even closer one. The Canterbury Bulldogs. They've won 2 games this year. They take on the Sydney Roosters on Saturday night, Bankwest Stadium. How about this one? Neither of these teams scored a point last week. I won't put you to the test here because I imagine it'll be very hard to find. But the last time that happened would be a long time ago in rugby league. I'm not talking about soccer. I'm talking about rugby league. The Dogs are still without their suspended players. Napa, Wakeham, Katoa come to mind. And the Chooks will be without their Origin players, which is only And unusual for the Sydney Roosters to only have 2 Origin players, James Tedesco and Angus Crichton.
So
They will have-
has been named on the interchange.
But Wakeham and Qatar still no bueno.
No bueno.
Yeah.
That's
Radley's
strange.
back for Roosters
And
too.
Victor Radley after his 5-week suspension after that fiery encounter.
Have you also noticed they've reneged a bit on the high contact?
It's not a thing anymore. Like,
Because it was fucking up the game and it was fucking up the
of
viewership.
course it
So
was. And
they-
people wanted to abandon the rugby
Yeah.
league ship.
yeah, and NRL's just like, we stamped it out, we were successful. It was just like, no.
And then there's a whole other discussion that could be had there is have the players change their tackling technique? Or
Hashtag Bumhole League.
it is, it's a shit
Well,
show.
did you see Munster get laid out last week? And that bloke, I think he got 10. He did get 10 in the bin, but a couple of weeks ago that was a send off.
Of course it was, yeah.
It was like, so,
All
Sorry.
over the place.
Katoa is
Katoa.
in as well.
So Wakeham, so they must be back from their suspensions, and Wakeham just hasn't been picked.
yeah, Napa I
In-
think got the most of it out of a lot of them, didn't he? Or
Well,
was he
no, they're
picked?
all back.
They're all back.
So
Okay.
it must just be one game, and then Brandon Wakeham hasn't been selected. Yeah, they've just gone Averillo and Cole Flanagan there.
I thought I heard during the week these boys all shut up to training pissed as well.
Yeah, is that a thing, or did you hear it, or
I'm pretty sure it was some of the Bulldogs. It might have been, maybe it was early in the year. I know Napa definitely turned up to, didn't show up to training because he was pissed. And I know.
I shan't point with any fingers there. I'm also not a
I
professional.
know
athlete.
Notha, what's the West Tigers player?
Not for Luma.
Yeah, he got dropped from their leadership group because he turned up to training pissed this week as well.
Well, he also, I think, had some. He went back at someone on Twitter that was going at him.
Probably for turning up to training pissed and getting dropped.
No, I think it had something to do with his defence. Anyways, boys, there's a game.
Yes, Roosters by a lot. Next game.
Roosters, line, please,
Yeah, Lions
if you wouldn't mind. I'm taking anything that's sort of 14-15 here.
14-15. I have gone Roosters as well. They are favourites, $1.10. Bulldogs are out at $7.
So a team that's had 3 blokes retire and 2 ACLs.
That margin will be
is
18.
$1.10.
It'll be 18.
Might be 20.
22.5.
This is the state of the league right now. 20. Are we taking 22 points?
What have we talked about for 50 minutes? Come on, let's get through this. Talk about something more interesting.
Cronulla and the New Zealand Warriors rounds out the week in rugby league. Cronulla, they are sitting in 8th with 6 wins and 9 losses. They lost to Brisbane last week. You got to get your dig on the table, don't you?
Yes, I don't want to disappoint all our female listeners, but I did promise
Sarah, my wife, and that's it.
probably
When I make her listen to it in a long car ride.
Yes, yes. I did promise that if Brisbane won, I was the only one that picked them. That I float with dick on the table.
And you had no justification. You're just like, I just picked Brisbane. I don't know why.
Obviously, somewhere in my subconscious, in some day, I was just like, oh yeah, maybe Brisbane win this game. So I picked them.
And they got up.
And they got up. They played actually really well. Payne Haas was excellent.
Yep.
So, yeah, those Brisbane Broncos, they might actually string a few games together to finish the year off. They will avoid the spoon, I think, now as well. Bulldogs, pretty certain to get the spoon.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you there. The Warriors had the most New Zealand Warriors game ever last week. They absolutely fucking bottled their game against the Dragons. They were up 18-6 with 9 minutes to go. Jared Beale goes through, makes it 18-10. Then Chad Townsend goes for a field goal when you're up 18-10 to try and make it 19-10. Probably the worst field goal attempt I've ever seen. That gives the Dragons 7 tackles. They score on that possession. And then with 5 minutes left to go, RTS... He's human. He's human. Yeah. He tried to kick it dead, missed the ball. Jack Bird scores. And then with a minute to go, the Dragons scored again after a line dropout. So the Dragons scored 3 tries, in 9 minutes there to get it through to Golden Point. And then it was sort of back and forth in Golden Point. They both had a few field goal attempts, both missed. And then with 2 minutes left to go, the Warriors had a scrum. They cough up the ball on first tackle, and that gives Corey Norman the shot from straight in front. If you're a New Zealand Warriors fan, peace be with you, because that would have been hard to swallow that one. And what else is hard to swallow? Tohu Harris and Chad Townsend are both out for some considerable time after shoulder injuries last week. What do we reckon here, boys? It's must win for both of these teams. Let's be honest. Cronulla and the Warriors.
Warriors do get the new recruit Matt Lodge. I think has been named in this game. So
that's quick. Yeah,
he will play in this one.
Yep.
Cronulla just lost to Brisbane. Who did I? Let's go back to
one of these ones where you got to check who you tip. I'm confident I tip Cronulla, but
I've gone Warriors.
Not too much confidence, and I don't think I'll be watching this at 4:00 on a Sunday afternoon.
No. This will probably be the closest game of the round.
Yeah,
it will be the closest game of the round.
That is true.
The margin's probably going to reflect that, Marks. What are your tips and odds?
Yeah, so I have tipped the Sharks as well. They are going into the match favourites at $1.60. The Warriors are $2.35. The line is 4.5.
Ooh. I won't be touching that.
And we won't be watching this. Fuck the NRL.
Not watching the most competitive game in the round.
Really
yeah, but by two shit teams. Like, come on.
No, two teams vying for a top 8 position.
Yeah, one's 5-10, one's 6-9. Fuck that. Why are they going to make the hate?
Hashtag bummerhole league.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Let's move on to a league that has some more competitive games. That in the AFL.
Yep.
It's halftime currently in the Thursday night football. The D's have actually got well in front here.
Yeah, up 19 points.
Yeah, 52 to 33.
That's massive. And,
Mux, can you get some goal scorers for us? We'll get some stats. Can you get some goal scorers on the D's? I'd be interested to know what contribution Ben Brown has made to that side.
Indeed.
Because I saw some highlights of him doing some pretty good stuff there. So I'm just wondering if that's turned into points.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Whilst you get that up, I was just going to say the big talking point this week was that Alistair Clarkson, his contract won't be renewed at the end of next year. That's 2022 there at Hawthorn. The bloke's got 4 flags as a player, Brownlow medalist, 4 flags as a coach, I should say.
Yep.
No, hang on.
Yeah, Clarkson's got it as a coach and Mitchell's got it as the player.
Thank you. So Alistair Clarkson has got
from the AFL expert on the
has got 4 flags as a coach, and Sam Mitchell is a Brownlow medalist and has 4 flags as a player under Alistair Clarkson.
Well, he's currently an assistant at the club.
Yeah, so he's been the head coach at Box Hill.
Okay.
And they've essentially been grooming him for the position. And in terms of Alistair Clarkson, 18 years, 383 games as head coach. He's won 225 of those. That's like over 65%. 4 Prems, 08, and then the 3P. And he won't be renewed. So that's the big talking point. Essentially, it's like a succession plan.
How bad have they been recently? Because they're bad this year.
Horrible, and then last year, not great. And then before that,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but trending down. So
Cool.
we got
Yeah,
there. So.
trending quickly down.
Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're going for, let's bring in young blood, new thinking.
Yep.
You see that massively in the NFL at the moment, but that idea of like, hey,
Sure.
let's new ideas, new thinking in there, see what happens, see how we can go with that versus the mainstay old head that's been around for a very, very long time.
How'd you go with those games?
You got a big smile on your face. What are you laughing about?
It's not 65%.
59. Oh, come on. That's quick maths. Jesus.
No, you've done well.
It's not 100 minus 85.
Hey, I'll take what I can get. Come on. Ben Brown hasn't scored any points. 7 disposals.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's not too bad, I guess, for forward. But
Ollie Wines disposals. Can you get that?
Is he at 20?
Well, if he's on track for the way he's been. He doesn't have 20.
No.
He's only got
15.
15. He's only on track for 30. But yeah, going back to the Clarkson-Mitchell sort of succession, it's been on the radar.
Well,
recently.
I think the big ones everyone talks about is Malthouse and Buckley, and of course Buckley just finishing up his stint as one of the biggest stories. But it's definitely happened a couple of times.
Well, Paul Roos to Simon Goodwin at Melbourne comes to mind. Essendon with Worsfield going to Rutten, and that's early days, of course, but it's it seems to be a common theme at the moment. Sort of grooming the next in line.
It seems more common than AFL because I can't really think of when I think about NRL or the NFL or any of the other leagues. Most of the times, dude gets booted, and then you're trying to either pick the exact opposite of that bloke, or you've got a new opportunity coming in, and you're trying to pick that guy.
Yeah, you're right there, Sean. It seems to be something that seems to be more common with the AFL at the moment. I think the other big talking point out of this is what does Clarkson do at the end of next year? Because there's a bunch of teams, Carlton, Collingwood, maybe even a GWS.
Suns, maybe.
Yeah, the Gold Coast that would love to have a 4-time winning, flag-winning coach. There's been a lot of noise around who will coach Collingwood. Do they go with that interim for a year and then try and target him? Is David Teague? Are his knees wobbling there at Carlton? Time will tell. Or does Alistair just go, fuck it, I've done everything.
Yeah,
I'm going to go play golf. And
do you know how old he is?
He's not that old. I think Monks might be able to bring this up.
When you say that, you're talking 50s or 60s?
Mid-50s.
Yeah.
Mid-50s. I think
if Wayne Bennett is the catalyst for how long guys can be head coaches, he can coach for another 30 years if he wants to.
It was him, Ray Hadley's listeners, and the dinosaurs going extinct. That was all around at the same time. I think Clarko's only mid-50s because I think he was very young when he first got the job. Have you got that there?
Yeah, 53.
Yes. Young as done it all.
Yeah, can definitely coach for another decade if he really wanted
Sure
to.
Could. So it's up to him.
But it's also prime retirement age too. So
Sandbelt down in Melbourne, I know what I'd be doing. I'd be on the golf course. I'd be playing comps. My handicap would be going up. I'll be getting worse. Be picking up my ball off the right fairway. The fairway to the right every time. Yeah, interesting. Bit of a administration change over at Geelong. So Steve Hocking will be the new CEO. He's the former AFL head of football. He's going to replace long-time CEO Brian Cook.
Yeah, the right-hand man of the AFL, really.
Yeah, so massive. I think this is a job that he's wanted for a long time. He played...
Long-term Geelong.
Well, but he played 199 games for the Cats.
Yeah.
And he's also the brother of former Cats legend Gary Hocking. So he's probably been eyeing this one off for a while, I'd imagine.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Darcy Parish, 2-year extension.
Thank you.
We're talking about Ollie Wines being a Brownlow smoky. Mate, this bloke just keeps putting up his hand every week.
Killing it.
He probably had the 3 points in a 40-point loss last week against the Cats. And Essendon, mate, they've put all their chips on the table. They've got a lot of money invested now in Zach Merritt, in Darcy Parish, Dylan Shield, Jake Stringer.
Is Stringer coming off contract? Because I think they were talking about trying to extend him another 2 years or something. Maybe it's next year he comes off contract.
Oh, I'm not
so
sure.
Trying to keep that, like these guys, this core together.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the Jake Stringer contract situation at the moment, but they've got some good young guys in your Nick Cox and your Hind and the guys coming through there. So they're kind of like a Carlton, like they've invested heavily in the next few years. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, and definitely trending in the right direction this year.
Well, as the Bombers fan on the end of the table, what do you think, Marks?
On the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind it. They seem to be putting something pretty good at the moment. They keep on building up.
They've been playing better in recent weeks as well.
So.
They haven't been, like we was talking about last week, that look,
they're not like St Kilda, who are hot and cold. They're kind of...
Yeah, you kind of know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
When they go up against the good teams, they're not going to beat your Geelongs or...
They're not at that level yet.
Or I think they lost by about 40 to Richmond, but they're winning games, and they're competitive every week. So
yeah, they definitely surprised me this season.
Yeah,
they're doing a lot better than I expected,
and a lot better than a lot of people expected. I think.
Yeah, so it's good. It's promising that they're putting the investment back into the players that they've got, and trying to keep that core leadership there, I guess. Yeah.
And the other contract extension was Tom Liberatore. Joseph McGrath, big fan of him. We're actually going to try and give him a call in a few minutes to run us through these games on the Esky first. So we'll see how that goes from a technical point of view. But yeah, Libba, he's got 2 years. Apparently, the Dogs only wanted to give him one. But his form, he has been unbelievable. He's a real barometer. His tackling pressure is unreal. His usage has been great. And look, maybe he's not one of the elite midfielders getting around, but he's definitely got some elite tattoos. We can put that much to bed. Any bloke that's got Homer Simpson and the greasy faced Simpsons, what's his name? The bloody the squeaky voiced teen. If they're your featured tats, it's unbelievable.
True.
All right, let's try and get this going. So how do I work this? Do I call him off my phone?
You go to that. So round 17 of the AFL. As we've mentioned, of course, Port Adelaide and Melbourne was the first game. That's currently at half time. What was the second game on that list there?
The second game is Friday night.
Yeah.
Essendon and Adelaide tomorrow.
Those mentioned Bombers, as we just mentioned before, and the Crom. Oh, got the ringing.
We got the ringing.
Yeah. So do you reckon that's recording?
Yes.
It should be. Imagine if he doesn't pick up.
Yeah, it'll go to voicemail. We'll leave a voicemail on live.
You have reached the message box 0428109888.
Plan that well.
Hang on, I'll try once more, and then here we go. Oh, he's FaceTiming. Hang on.
Member.
You there?
G'day, member.
Joseph.
Hey.
So you're currently live on the Esky.
G'day, Esky boys. Trying to find a quiet spot. Hang on. I'm meandering around the pub.
Which pub are you at, member?
Where can I find? I'll go into the side cover.
All right.
Don't do well. The echo will do. No, hang on. I'll go outside. That's what I'll do.
Outside sounds good. So, Joseph,
a bit of dead air. Where are we up to?
We're up to Essendon and Adelaide tomorrow night.
Mention sponsors. While I walk around, mention the sponsors.
The unofficial sponsor sports bet.
Shout out Carlton Draft and Sportsbet. Thank you for sponsoring the pod.
Carlton Draft.
We're drinking blondes at the moment.
We're drinking blondes here at the moment, so not affiliated, I don't think.
Yes.
Righto, we're outdoors. We're live. We're on the Esky. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Darcy Parish, Zach Merritt. How good are they?
Oh, mate. Seriously, that club have invested themselves into two players.
They have.
And you'd think it'd be an awful way to do it, but they had 80 touches between them on the weekend.
Ridiculous. And that's 2 weeks in a row that they've done it.
My big thing with Essendon is...
I think they had 78 the week before and then 79 this week.
No, so it's not quite 80. Sorry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 2 weeks in a row. We'll call it 80. Bit of mayo.
Oh, mate, we're on the Esky. We're mayo. We're positive mayo on the Esky. The biggest thing for Essendon is they've got the beauty, they've got the 18 and the 19-year-olds.
Yep.
They've got the gun, Merritt and Paris. There's two of the best midfielders doing it. Who's the third best player at Essendon?
Oh, Jake Stringer on his day.
Yeah.
On his day. McDonald Tippermooney on his day.
Get the dipper.
Yeah, they're an exciting team, but they need a bit more substance, is what I'm saying.
I'm with you. And what about the Crows? They are coming off a bit of a spanking against the Brisbane Lions last week, but everyone's been getting spanked by Brisbane, to be fair.
Mark's is texting the team.
Marks, can you bring up the team list there? Because there was a big...
Oh, Thursday night teams. I did...
Thursday night teams, baby. Thursday night teams.
Good Thursday.
So the best. It's the best. So
now he's Tech playing, Monk. All I need to know is Tech playing.
He's going to have a look here. So obviously had that kind of nasty looking neck injury last week.
Yeah, some strain of some description. It tightened his neck up and he couldn't turn his head left or right. It looked a bit like a robot out there while we were sitting watching the rest of the game.
Tex is out.
Tex out.
No, Tex is massive.
Bombers.
I wanted to tip Crom. Actually, it screams of a Crom game because I think I've got in the notes. Lockie Scholl and Ben Keys.
Yep.
They get roles in the midfield and they get their own kills, but they will nullify like Bontempelli, they've done it to fucking when they played Brisbane. This screams of, righto, you go to the two damage makers in Merritt and Parrish, and we'll do the rest. But, when the firepower with no tech, it really hurts because Essendon are going to score points.
Yeah.
Because they're top 4 scoring team.
Yeah, we mentioned it last week. They were equal second last week, so maybe they're third now.
And they're happy to league points, but, who's going to kick the goals for Adelaide?
Riley Philthorpe will have to step up, won't he?
So that's what we're relying on. We're relying on an 18-and-a-half-year-old.
Yeah, that's right.
It's one of those ones where, Bombers have been very good and impressive against good teams. Can they now be good against the shit team? Let's be real. We love the Crom.
We do love the Crom, but they're statistically speaking,
can they
are shit.
The AFL's beauty in that it separates itself in the top 4, a middle 7, a secondary third, and then a bottom half.
Yep.
So can Essendon now flex themselves and prove that they're in and around that 8th spot.
So did you pick the Bombers?
Are you brave enough? Are you brave enough to go with the Crom, or are you going to go with that?
I'm that serious. If Tex plays, I pick the Crom. No Tex, I pick Essendon.
Okay, well, I think he's officially out.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He's honestly going to be that fun a game. I think I wrote in the notes, bet the over. It's that Marvel. Both teams open it up back end. Bet the over. No Tex kills the fucking Crom. It absolutely kills it.
So I picked Bombers.
So Essendon win this pretty comfortably, but I still bet the over.
Can you give us the head-to-head and the under-overs, please, Max?
Yeah, so I've gone Bombers as well. So that's 4 Bombers. That speaks volumes.
Big Kersey.
They are
25 and a half? 25? Or is that way too
very close.
Ooh, very close. Very close. All right, we'll start with the line. The line is 22 and a half.
Even when he's not at the desk, he's on.
He's working from home tonight. Working from home.
I'm working from the pub. I'm in the smokers area in Dixon.
And the total game points is 161.
Oh, with text, that's money, but now it's a question. I think I wrote down bet the over.
Yeah, I still like the overs there. Essendon are the third highest scoring team in the comp at the moment. I still like the overs there.
Yeah. They are favourites as well. $1.28. Crom are at $3.72.
Let's move into Saturday. A little bit of a snooze fest, I guess, in the first game. That is Hawthorn versus Freo at University of Tasmania Stadium there in Launceston. It is Nat Fyfe's 200th, Joseph.
Apologies, Nat Fyfe. Jill Brownlow medalist. We should give him some kudos.
A bit of credit where credit's due, I guess. And another Freo guy that needs a bit of credit is Andrew Brayshaw. He had 28 and 2 goals last week in the losing side. The Hawks, they always give it a crack in Tassie. It's going to be a scrap. What are your thoughts here, Jim?
Oh, I think, and Hawks have been in the news. Obviously, you boys talked about it with the Mitchell Clarkson handover.
Yep.
I think it plays a part in it. I think the Tassie factor plays in, and we've talked about it on the Esky. Hawthorn want to make it a scrap.
Yep.
Freo are a bit of a scrappy team. Mm-hmm. We're going to get, if you're a betting man, which the 4 of us are, bet the under here. Bet the under. Yeah. Freo get the chockies, but I'd bet the under here. This is a real 65 to 49 battle.
And I think in Tasmania, the unders are normally pretty juicy.
Expected to be wet, I think, as well.
Yeah, so unofficial sponsor Sportbet has said 8 of Hawthorn's last 11 matches have gone the unders.
8 of 11, that's not bad. Yeah. That's not bad. What is the total match points there? I have tipped Hawthorn here.
Ooh, I've gone Dockers.
I think they might get an upset here.
Yep.
I don't hate that bet. I don't hate the Hawks bet. But I think Freo a little bit too classy, but it's going to be a scrap.
What do the bookies reckon?
So I've gone Hawthorn as well. So
Desmond,
yeah.
Desmond
thought it wouldn't happen tonight, but it's there.
Desmond. The Archbishop of South Africa.
So the head-to-head, Dockers are favourite at $1.68. Hawthorn are out at $2.19. Line is 5.5.
Ooh.
Total points 155.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the unders there.
Next game.
Let's roll into Saturday afternoon. Carlton and Geelong. The Blues. We're saying that there's a chance. They've strung back-to-back wins together against Adelaide and Freo. Mac, you did a ladder predictor and you've got the Blues in the top 8. Run me through it.
Look, call me an idiot.
You're an idiot.
Look, I won't lie. I do the ladder predictor purely to see how high the Bulldogs can finish.
Yep.
Turned out first is the highest they can finish. I thought there was an extra level they could. They went out by 50 points on the way in.
Yeah.
But genuinely, if you just go win-loss, Carlton finish 8.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we have...
And we sort of talk about them being there and about with the 8.
Yep.
They could... I'm being serious. They finish 8 this year.
I love the optimism. I probably don't share it just as much as you at the moment. But, look... They're only 6 points behind. They're a game and a half behind 8th, and we have spoken about their soft run home. Sammy Walsh.
Now, Pat, who's in 8th? Tell me who's in 8th right now.
GWS is 8th, Richmond's 9th, Freo's 10th off the top of my head.
Yeah, and who's 7th? A team that lost by 15 goals on the weekend.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. 7th to 12th is alive. I think it's very much alive.
For sure.
And it's a beauty because I think 3 or 4 weeks ago we said the top 8 was finished. You know, that's the teams we're going to expect. But, mate, West Coast just lost by 90 points to Sydney.
Yeah.
Richmond are in the spiral.
Yep.
Carlton. You know, it's a bit of fun now. The bottom end of the 8 is a lot of fun right now. So, I mean, look, again, I'm stupid in that believing in the Blues, and I almost have a feeling they knock off Geelong. I'm not confident enough to say they beat them, but I am telling you, this will be a very good game of footy.
Yep.
Watch Geelong win this by 90.
I've backed Geelong in this one.
I am a Judas, and I have tipped Geelong. But
come on, man.
No, I'm concerned.
He sticks strong with the Dragons with all their hoopla, but the Blues, nah, mate.
It's a 6-9 team playing an 11-4 team. I don't know. Sammy Walsh, he had 25 disposals, 8 marks, 8 tackles last week, and the game-sealing goal. Marks, can you look up the teams? Because Paddy Cripps, he's got a sore foot. If he's been named, surely that makes a massive difference. Have you got it there?
That goal was an absolute sausage, by the way, by Samuel Walsh.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it?
He can literally do everything.
16-point win. Cripps is there.
Cripps is there.
Cripps is named. So that is encouraging. Look, the Cats were pretty good against the Bombers last week. Danger had 37 and a goal.
Yeah, all that.
The Tomahawk had a 5-goal night. Jez Cameron, hammy, and looks like he'll be unavailable for this game. Apparently,
he looks like a bad hammy too, Peps.
Yeah, well, he was complaining before the game about hammy tightness, and they said, "Oh no, you're right." And it's about halfway through the second quarter, I think that.
A chronic hammy at that. So it was part of the risk of Geelong bringing them in.
Yep.
But so you bring Jeremy. If you can bring Jeremy Cameron in, you bring him in. But this is part of the risk. Yeah, in this problem.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there with Jez if they just say, mate, have a rest and we'll see you come finals. It's Lockie Henderson's 200th and Sam Menegola's 100th. Looks like we've all gone Geelong. Monks, if you wouldn't mind the head-to-head and a line I'd be interested in, actually.
I'd love that line. I'd love to hear that line from the Monk, man.
Yeah, so head-to-head, Geelong are favourites $1.31. Carlton out at $3.48. Marker, do you want to take the line for me?
What's your guess?
Oh, I didn't listen to a word you said there, Mark.
Geelong $1.30. Carlton,
but I'll say 21.5.
Very close.
Very close, 19.5.
I'd take all that. I think Carlton goes very close to winning this. That's how confident I am.
And we've spoken.
I honestly say this. I think Carlton win this and then make that launch towards the top 8.
Season on the line. Season on the line. We have spoken at length that Carlton don't get blown out very often, so possibly Carlton.
They don't. That 4 goal, honestly, that 90 points, you take that and you run to the bank. This will be a single-digit victory to one team or the other.
Like it. All right, let's go from my team to Sean's. Brisbane take on St Kilda up at the Gabba.
Brisbane win by heaps. Yeah.
Pretty much. My thoughts as well.
Well, Brisbane have been shit hot, let's be honest. Probably the hottest team in the league that's outside of the Western Bulldogs. We'll let you get to that in a second, Joseph.
Well said, Toad.
Fagan's done a really good job with his list there. St Kilda, mind you, they're only 2 points out of the 8, so they've got a lot to play for here. Jared Berry's out. Sean, what have you heard? He's got ongoing adductor issues.
Yeah, soreness again, so they're taking it easy with him, getting him back in the squad. Probably take the weekend off, and they'll get him a VFL game next week if they run any. Big story, of course. Well, big news: Lockie Neal back for the Lions.
Massive. His shoulder looked cooked a couple of weeks ago, so massive to get him back. And Dane Zorko, 200th this weekend, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would have thought he might have played a little bit more, so a little bit of a late bloomer there, the Lions skipper. I imagine we've all tipped the Brisbane Lions
Lions
up there at the Gabba. Perhaps the Lion is more interesting.
Yeah.
Quickly, Muggy.
All right, Lions $1.20.
I'm out in the cold here, gentlemen. Let's roll.
We're rolling.
All right, Lion is 28.5.
All of it. I want all of it.
Yeah,
All of it.
I'm taking that. All right, Joseph, you'll have to let me try and finish the Sunday games here because the first one is a bit of a snooze fest. GWS Gold Coast at Ballarat.
It'll be cold in Ballarat. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Gold Coast actually stunned the Tigers last week, and Giants stunned the D's. So both teams coming off huge upset wins. This does scream of a scrap. Has anyone been brave enough to go Gold Coast? I've gone the Giants down there in
Giants.
Ballarat.
Giants for me.
Joseph?
Giants by heaps, I imagine. Gold Coast had a great, honestly, it's a great win by them. We talk about how it's a super defend this year, so just quietly, I've got Raiders 1-12.
You do, yeah. And I'm going to skull bet.
Just look at the window of the pub. I'm just looking at the window of the pub, and they're winning by 2 much.
Sorry to cross codes here, listeners, but the Canberra Raiders, with 20 minutes to go, lead Manly 24-4. So Joseph needs a couple Manly tries. It looks like I'm sculling because I've got a head-to-head skull bet with you.
I've got Raiders 1-12 is the freest money I've ever made. Winning by 2 much.
$6.50. That's all right. That's all right. Manly's attacking down the right edge, so we'll see what happens there.
Go Manly, for the love of God, go Manly. Whatever that team was, I'll go the favourite for that one. Yeah.
Monks, have you got the odds, please?
Yeah, so I go on Giants as well. They are favourites, $1.37. Gold Coast are out $3.13. Line is 16.5.
Ooh.
So the moment you've been waiting for, Macca, we're up to the Dogs. Dogs first, Sydney. Take us away.
Dogs. Jamara.
Look, Dogs last week, they scrapped a 30-point victory against the Kangas. I thought they would by 80.
100, I heard.
I couldn't tell you who the best on was because they had like 15 players play well. But that's irrelevant. No one ever talks about that game ever for the rest of humanity. This is actually going to be a really fun game. The big talking point is Jamara Ugle-Hagan, the number 1 draft pick from last year, makes his debut. So shout out to Jamara. Hasn't got near it in the VFL. Has been genuinely battling in the 2s level, but the Dogs have said, you know what, Aaron Norton, he's out. He got fucking smoked in a marking contest.
Blood him.
I don't know if it's the ribs or spine or back. It's definitely not courage because, dear God, that man's got it in bundles. But Jamara is in. Like, call me biased and optimistic. I think Jamara kicked 6 this week. I know.
He's never kicked 6 in the VFL.
He's literally not kicked. I think he's had 6 kicks, but I think it's Marcus Boccatelli kicking him the ball. He's grown up idolising Buddy Franklin. He's literally been named the next Buddy Franklin. So the coolest story point of the weekend is he gets to play his debut on the same field as Buddy Franklin.
Against his idol, poetic.
Exactly. And I'm a sap in the best of ways, let alone when the Western Bulldogs are involved. So, look, he's probably not AFL ready. I'll admit that. If he gets 1 kick on the weekend, it'll be good enough. But it's pretty cool. They're going to get around him. It's actually a pretty big game for the Swannies, I think.
Massive,
They're a real sniff here. I think they're a real sniff. The Dogs are fucking a very good football team. They're on top of the ladder in case you boys don't know. I'll just repeat
No,
that. They are
yeah.
on top
Wasn't
of
aware.
the ladder. But the Swans are playing really good footy. So hopefully for Jamari gets a kick. Hopefully for the Dogs, they win by 90 or 100 points. But look, I'm very confident. Dogs win this by 4 or 5 goals.
Yep.
It's just about what you. It's kind of weird that the top of the table team gets to blood their number 1 draft pick. Like in no code in the world that happens.
No.
You know, that's why you put a draft. You have a draft, so the bottom team gets the best player, not the other way around. So, and I will mention that Luke Darcy's son,
I was
Sean
just thinking about that. Yeah.
is one of the 3 best prospects for this year's draft. And like I said, Bulldogs, whatever, father son, whatever academy draft picks. The AFL got a bit weird, but dear God, I could talk about the Bulldogs for the next 15 minutes.
And that's probably why we might have to cut you off there, Jim.
Sorry.
Assuming you're tipping Bulldogs, I've gone Dogs as well.
I've gone
I've
Dogs.
tipped Bulldogs by all the points, literally all of them. Any points that can be had, that's Bulldogs
all of
by
them.
that many.
All of them. I have gone Dogs as well. They are favourites, $1.30. The Swans are out at $3.56. The line
24.5.
20.5.
No,
not
take
as
it,
many
take
as
it,
all
run
the-
with it,
all the
Tempers.
points.
I'm going to leave you on that note. Go Dogs, go the Esky. I love the Esky boys. Go you, fucking beauty.
Thank you, Magga.
Thanks
for
joining
dropping
us.
in.
Love you, boys. All the best. Go
you
Reds, go
don't
Dogs.
get into another squee, moi, moi.
And he's gone.
Did well there. I don't know about
Done
the
real well.
sound quality, but we'll see how we go listening back.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll finish up with
Last two
the
games.
2 last games. Probably not the best matchups. We've got Richmond taking on Collingwood, and then the last game, of course, is West Coast taking on North
Well,
Melbourne.
look, a couple of years ago, you talk about not the best matchups. This was a marquee matchup.
Yes.
2 massive clubs in Richmond and Collingwood. And the way that they've been going, the interest kind of wanes a little bit, I guess. So Richmond are 7 and 8. They're back in 9th. So a lot of Richmond 9th memes been coming out, nature healing.
There's a lot of 7 and 8 teams, so they're there and thereabouts
Of
at the moment.
Of course. Collingwood.
Not worried yet.
No. Well, I would be worried, actually. After
They need to win this game.
massive.
If they don't win this game, I'd be very, very worried as a Richmond fan.
Massive. But they've lost to Gold Coast and St Kilda the last 2 rounds. So I would be worried if I'm a Tigers fan. Tom Lynch had 5 goals in a losing effort last week. Basha Hooley, that horrible syndesmosis, it comes up again. Surgery. He's done. They'll miss him off the halfback flank. The Pies, they'll want to show up. I think they can upset Collingwood here. I think they can upset Richmond here, and that's why
You back the Pies?
I've tipped the Pies. I think Richmond are in disarray. That they were the showing that they had against St Kilda a few weeks ago, where they scored 22 points, was dismal, and losing to the Gold Coast, who we've essentially been laughing at for the last few months. Yep. I think Collingwood can snatch this game.
So I went the other way and thought that that's the way Hep call. If they're in the elite club and an elite side, they think they are, and if they're going to compete and get into finals footy, they need to lift, and hopefully Hardwick as the coach has kind of got them in ready for this match, and we can push them forward, because that's my thinking in this. They have to win this game, so it's the one where they'll come out firing, and it wouldn't surprise me if they absolutely smoke Collingwood in this. Oh. But I think it'll be more competitive than that. But I've picked Richmond.
Sure. Marks?
I've actually gone an upset as well. I've gone Pies. Yeah, your sentiments exactly. I think Richmond are a little bit on the downturn. So it could be a good matchup for the Pies this round. So they are outside at $2.42. Richmond are out favourites, at $1.57. The line is 8.5.
I wouldn't be touching that. Marks, have you got the teams there? So Toby Nankervis hasn't been playing at all for Richmond the last few weeks. Marbior Chol been doing the ruck work there. Coming up against one of the premier ruckmen in the league in Brodie Grundy.
Yep.
Has he been named? Because that would be a massive in for them. In Toby Nankervis.
There you go.
So Nankervis in, look, probably doesn't change the outcome of the game, but you feel a lot more comfortable about the ruck contest there. But yeah, Esky boys have gone Collingwood 2-1. Interesting.
Yeah.
The last game, it's that's Monday, I think.
Monday, yep.
Yeah, Monday night game. It's
Monday night, the first of the season.
Yep.
West Coast take on North Melbourne over in Perth.
Get to go home, Plucky.
Yeah, that's right. We're wondering if they're going to get stuck for a few weeks. No, Mark McGowan said, no, we just fucking do whatever we want. There's no method to this madness. Come home.
If it makes money, it's coming home.
Well, maybe they saw their effort against Sydney in Geelong last week, and they said, "Hang on, fuck the 2 cases of the Carolina virus that we've got.
Yeah.
Let's bring these boys home so we can get some morale up in this.
Let's
state."
play as many games in Western Australia as we can.
Yeah, for sure. So West Coast has the home field advantage here against the Kangas. They were pumped last week by the Swans, as we alluded to. They're 26 points. Their lowest since 1992. So one of their lowest scores ever, really, considering that side came into the league in 89. And North, they were valiant against Jim's Dogs. Only went down by 29 points. I think he had them touted as losing that game by about 100.
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000, all the points, as he likes to say. But surely over there in Perth, we've all gone the Eagles here.
This game's not in Tassie, so I've gone West Coast.
Mate?
Yeah, I've gone West Coast as well. They are favourites at $1.18. Hangers are out at $4.95.
Line would be interesting.
Line? 26.5.
Not enough. Not enough for mine. No. Anyways, Monday night footy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Another night. There's normally a very quiet night in the world of sports. So,
Yeah.
another time that we might get to hog the telly over the poor wives and girlfriends.
That's it.
Fiancés, we should say.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That'll wrap us up in the AFL.
Well, finishing it up. So the current game, Port have actually come back a little bit in this. They're at 41-55.
Down 14 points.
Yeah, made it a bit
7
closer.
minutes to go in the third.
They've looked a bit more competitive in this. Interesting enough, it looked like Max Gawn was getting some work done on his hammies. His hammy heavily strapped right leg. So
Right.
be interesting to see how that goes throughout the rest of this
For
match.
sure. Yeah, the best ruckman in the competition, essentially.
So, yeah. That'll probably do us for AFL this week.
Let's move on to the NBA.
Yeah, some other sports and let's go. They're international, essentially.
Sure.
We'll cover a whole bunch of global sports now. Starting off with the NBA. Let's talk about how we got to the finals. So the NBA's in the finals. They've had the first game.
Yep.
Second game's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Suns up 1-0 over the Bucks.
So, but to get to that point, the Hawks did lose to the Bucks, so the Bucks made it in the final. That was Trey came back, but he looked busted up.
Didn't he? Yeah.
He essentially dished the ball continuously, didn't really take any shots or jumpers. He tried to drive home a couple, but really his 3-point game wasn't there.
No.
And they essentially chased the entire match, entire game. So yeah, Bucks got home. They did it enough without the freak, and the freak back. Luckily from his knee injury as well for the finals.
I picked that.
Yeah. So
and Joseph was questioning me because we were watching the footage. Obviously, horrific hyperextension. But after that scan come back and said no structural damage,
swelling.
You just got to manage that swelling. And
he still looked elite.
He looked great. I think you could tell that he was kind of favouring it a little bit, but
cautious. Like you do an injury, it's in the back of your mind a little bit. It takes a bit to get over that kind of thing, and is it going to be right? Is it going to be fine? I'm not going to do it again because you remember that pain
for sure. The thing that sort of stood out to me was without Giannis, the Bucks were fine last week in that Eastern Conference semi-final, in the Eastern Conference Finals, I should say. Brook Lopez stepped the fuck up in Game 5. He dropped 33. Game 6 was Chris Middleton's night. He had 32. Drew Holiday looked really good. And look, the Hawks without Trey is,
they didn't have any. I think Macca pointed it out. They didn't have anyone score over 12 in the series.
And we were talking about last episode. Who's the second best player from the Hawks? We thought Capella, but he's only sort of a defensive man in terms of scoring. What Kevin Huerter or John Collins or Bogdanovic, they really
relied on Bogdanovic to try and keep them into this game, and some of his 3 points did help, but
they missed Trey
big time.
Yep. So Bucks and Suns, that's the finals where we're going to have a team that either wins for the first time in Phoenix or a team that hasn't won since 1971, wasn't it? Here's one for you off the top of your head. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What was he formerly known as? Because I think we're going to have donuts on both sides here.
Yeah, with donuts here.
Lou Alcindor. So much like a Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, converted. So when he was at UCLA, I think, and possibly even his early years in the NBA, he was Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That was the last time that the Bucks won it way back when in the early 70s. And the Suns have never won it. So enthralling contests we've got, and good for basketball. Good for basketball.
Oh, definitely. It's cool to see Booker and that roll up to like the press conferences leading up to it, wearing the classic '93 jerseys like the Barkley wore. So you know,
shout out to Charles Barkley because sometimes I wonder why are we doing this podcast? You know, maybe we could just go do our 9 to 5s and just work. You listen to that guy give analysis and commentate. He got no fucking idea. He forgot who Jeff Teague's playing for.
yeah.
He was saying, I think Atlanta needs to put Jeff Teague in. And Jeff Teague played for Atlanta for a long time, but turns out he's on the Bucks. So thanks to you, Charles Barkley, if you're listening. Great job being an NBA All-Star, taking the Suns to the finals back in 1993. Great job in the original Space Jam. Got his powers stolen by the Monstars. And also, great job being a horrible analysis slash flavor man, because you're giving me hope in this podcast.
He's just there so Shaq can school him week in, week out.
It's nice. It's nice. In that Teague incident, Shaq was just going, "You big dummy, you big dummy." He forgets live on air who Jeff Teague plays for. Love your work, Chuck. Love it. Love it. And golf swing as well. Gives me hope about my golf.
Yeah, he's got the yips.
Yes. Sure does. Anyways, we do have an NBA Finals going on. So game 1 was Tuesday night over in the US, Wednesday morning our time. The Suns won pretty comfortably, 118 to 105. As we spoke about before, Giannis played after that hyperextension. Amazing for him to be playing a week after that. He's a Greek freak. He might not even be human. He might be that might be half bionic knee, really. What did we think about the game, boys? DeAndre Ayton, another massive double-double. Nearly, I think he had like 22 and 19.
Yep. And then CP3, I think, had 30 points and almost 10 assists. I think it was 9.
36 years of age in his first finals, and he looks like he belongs there.
Yeah, I think he was like him and MJ were the only ones that had Michael Jordan that had the had 30
you can
plus
say
points.
MJ and we're talking about basketball.
Yeah, 30 plus points and 9 assists on debuts.
Unbelievable.
Like they're the only two that have done that. Devin Booker got I think over 30 points as well.
Yeah.
So
very close.
Very close.
The high 20s. You mentioned that MJ performance. When he did that, I think he was 27 or 28.
Oh, he carried the Bucks, the Bulls into that final series. So at that point in his career,
36.
Yeah,
he's 36 and he's still going out there and putting up those numbers. What have you got the box score there? What Booker has 27?
He had 27.
Yep.
DeAndre had 22-19.
Mate,
they're so good.
DeAndre is quickly becoming the best big man. Hard to say when Jokic wins the MVP, and you've got a guy called Rudy Gobert and Joel Embiid running around. But a good time in basketball for big men because they're just unreal, and it's so fun to watch. And a CP3 throws up the dimes and he throws them home, and he just boxes out and gets boards all game long. So it's nice to watch the number 1 draft pick, looking like a number 1 draft pick.
Yep.
Yeah. Sure, Luka was taken after him, but. Look, the Suns haven't lost in picking DeAndre Ayton.
No. So how do we think the series is going to go? Got game 2 tomorrow. There's been a lot of talk that it's probably going to be like a 6 or 7 game series.
Yep. I'll tell you who needs to step the fuck up tomorrow. Drew Holiday and to a lesser extent, Chris Middleton. They were really good when Giannis wasn't there for game 5 and game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Because when they're shooting from the perimeter and they're attacking from 3-point land, and they've got a bit of confidence to to take the shot. They actually played really well. And then when Giannis is there and he's attacking and he's driving it in the paint, it's kind of like their second fiddle and it's Giannis's team.
Exactly. They can't think that, hey, we got to the finals, job done without the Greek. Like, we got us there and now he's going to carry us over. They need to also still contribute to that team and also, get the points and help him out.
Sure.
Because he is still kind of, let's say, getting back. he's not 100%, so he's 80 or 90%, and he's a little bit tentative with the knee. So they've got to help out and support him in that, that process. So,
and in that game 6, I think off the top of my head, I think Drew Holiday, I think he went 6 of 12 from 3-point land, 50%, and I think today 0 of 4. Yes. So the volume isn't there. He's not taking those long distance shots as often as you would when Giannis isn't there. But B, I don't know, it's a small sample size, but perhaps the looks aren't as clean.
The percentage wasn't there at Jimmy the Chinaman. So so
0%.
Yeah,
0. Quick maths. 0 from 4 is 0%.
Yeah, so he scored 10 buckets. Middleton did okay, 29 buckets, but
29 points.
29 points.
Sorry, points. Yeah.
I was saying 29 buckets. fucking scored 50.
My bad.
Maths is a strong suit.
Yeah.
So where do we think this goes, though? Do we think are they getting swept? Suns in 4?
Nah.
I don't think so.
No, God, no.
Yeah, I don't think 4-1, 4-2. Maybe I could see that.
I could see a gentleman's sweep. I could see a 4-1.
That's still 6 games.
4-2, 6 games. Yeah. I think with Giannis there, and look, like you said, 80-90%. I think that's an accurate assessment as to where he was at. It's huge. It's huge. If Giannis isn't there, you're talking about get your dustpan and brush because this is a fucking sweep.
Yeah.
But with Giannis there, and you'd think over the coming days he's only going to get
more healthy. Hopefully swelling go down more.
More confident in that knee. Yeah, I'm hoping for, and I think we do get a long final series here.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Do I have to pick?
Yeah, I've backed Suns all the way in now, so I'm on the Suns train. I want to see them win.
Of course, they've got a 1-game advantage. Yeah, I'll go the Phoenix Suns here too, just on the back of CP3 playing like a 28-year-old when he's 36, doing Michael Jordan-esque things in terms of numbers.
The numbers, yeah.
I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan. I'm just
different eras.
One of the best basketball players ever
of all time
versus a very good one.
Yes,
but yeah, I think with the battle of the big men, I think DeAndre Ayton is just going to shit on whoever tries to go with him, whether it be Brook Lopez or PJ Tucker. And then you've got one of the premier shooting guards in the league in Devin Booker. Yeah, I'll go the Suns, but I don't mind. I've got no interest in who actually wins on a personal level. I just love to see a great finals and one to remember.
Yeah,
definitely. Suns in 4. No, I could see it going 4-2.
Yeah.
Suns.
Oh yeah, Suns. Yeah.
That'll do us, I think, for NBA this week. I did think I saw Luka led. Is he play for Slovenia? Yeah, they beat Lithuania, I believe, to qualify for the Olympics.
So Lithuania not making the Olympics.
Yeah.
That is massive. And shout out to fucking Lithuania. Mm-hmm. I think they're I don't think they're even 3 million people. And they just live and breathe basketball there. And they've won medals, so we're talking about Australia maybe pushing for a bronze or perhaps even more.
Fingers crossed. I've seen some of the videos of the US team doing some drills at the moment, and they're just killing it.
It's always theirs to lose, isn't it? Especially in the professional era, the dream team era, if you will. But yeah, Lithuania, shout out, just produces excellent basketballers, and they're going to miss out on the Olympics here. Yeah. I'll tell you what.
They run into the Luka, unfortunately.
Well, and it's fucking cutthroat. So they have, the qualifiers had been going on. So your Americas, your, I think Spain, I think Australia, I think maybe even the host, Japan, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so a few had already been decided. So the last 4 spots, I believe, are up for grabs. So they're having a 24-team tournament to decide the last 4. And it's group games.
Yeah.
And it's no series. It's just one game, and then that's it. So it's really cutthroat at the moment for those last few spots in the Olympics. But it seems like Luka Doncic will be there, and I'm sure by next week we probably know.
Yes, the final kind of list going into that, because when that Olympic starts,
2.5 weeks.
Yeah, end of this month. It's crazy.
It's very close.
Yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah, they're talking about fans, yay or nay at the Olympics at the moment, because I think Tokyo's going to do another state of emergency for COVID. So
they're having troubles, are they?
Yeah. Yes.
Look, mate, TV. Fuck. Who cares if no one goes? Just put shit on TV.
Yeah.
We'll watch it.
Yes.
We will.
Definitely. We'll watch the Olympics. So from one playoffs, we'll go. Well, from one final series, we'll get to another final coming up. Let's talk about Euros. So the UEFA Euros 2020 in 2021. We all backed Italy. Italy through, baby.
Well, this was actually the semi-finals that we picked last week, wasn't it? So we said if Italy can get over Belgium, Belgium obviously very, very good on paper. We backed them to get through. They did. They faced Spain in the semis. It went to extra time again. 1-1 at the end of it. Goals to Chiesa and Morata, and the Italians were luckily enough to back up after Locatelli missed his pen to win 4-2 there.
Well, two blocks by the goalkeeper, I believe.
Yeah, Donnarumma. You know, fun fact about him. He has never conceded more than one goal in an international game.
Ooh.
So never conceded 2 or more.
There you go. There's a stat leading into the final.
And he's 22. Yeah. So we talk about Gigi Buffon, who essentially was the goalkeeper for Italy for fucking close to 20 years. And now you've got Donnarumma come in and you're like, he's 22. He could do it for another, it's his job.
40.
It's his job essentially for the next 15, 16 years. So, Italy go through to the final. On the other side of the draw, England and Denmark, the inverse flags, if you will, the red and white and the white and red.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's slightly different, but a bit of a fucking stretch. Anyway.
Just changing the contrast up and down.
That's right. So, massive advantage for the Poms there at Wembley.
Yep.
They had more in, so they had 65,000 there this morning, last night over in Pommy time. To watch the Three Lions take on the Danes, and it was the Danes that drew first blood with a really nice free kick from Damsgaard, a worldly one, really. There was no way that Jordan Pickford was getting to that one. And then, unfortunate, an own goal from Simon Kjaer levelled it up before the half, 1 apiece. I think this tournament has had the most own goals by a country mile, so there's a bit of... pub ammo or trivia for you there. And then a bit of a soft penalty, really. Do we think it was Raheem Sterling that went down in the box in extra time to give Harry Kane the pen? And how about this? Saved. So Casper the Friendly Schmeichel, he comes up with a save, and then Harry Kane gets the tap in after that to break the Danish hearts and to send Wembley into absolute bedlam.
Yeah, while he had a laser pointer on him as well.
Yeah. So can we talk about this? There was a little bit of
bloody English fans.
Well, controversy.
That's such a soft pen. That's so bad.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, have a look at Raheem British Dollars pen. Shout out to USA Soccer Guy. Goes for the cutback there.
Nah.
It's very soft. Let's be honest.
He barely touches him. He doesn't even put his leg across playing at the ball.
I suppose there is contact. I don't know.
There's barely any contact. See if they show the goalkeeper. They're not going to show it on this.
So 104th minute, the Hurricane, he gets saved, and then Schmeichel's done so well diving to his left there, but and hats off to Harry on the follow up there.
He's been excellent for England too.
Sure has been.
I don't want to say he's carrying them through, but he's definitely been so good for him.
There's a reason why he's a captain, and he's, let's be honest, he's probably in the top 5 strikers in the world.
Yep. But English fans,
yes, shining
laser pointers at a English fan with a laser pointer shining in the eyes of the Denmark goalkeeper when he's trying to make that save in the penalty. I think they're talking They got CTV all around the stadium, life ban for that bloke.
Yeah, if
so
they find him,
if
they'll laser
once they
point
get
us.
him, he'll get a life ban.
And what happened in the national anthem?
Yeah.
Was there booing?
They booed the Denmark national anthem.
That's
As Pommies
pretty
do,
poor,
so-
isn't it?
Yeah.
To give us any more reason to go for Italy in this.
Exactly, the Mandem's going to
Other than
Mandem.
my half Italian heritage. Mum's actually born in England. So. But yeah, I would really like to see the Italians win this. It'd just be such a fuck you.
The way England's kind of got into this, where they got through though, they played not great in the group stage. They definitely played better in the round of 16.
They played pretty good in the group stage. They didn't concede a goal.
Yeah, but they also were playing not the best teams. As in, they should have put them away by more significant margins, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, and that shout out to Ukraine in the quarters. That's what they did to them.
Yes,
Four
exactly.
zip-
So I thought
four
they
zip
played.
there in a row.
I thought they played better through the final series, getting into the final. But I still think Italy comes out and smokes them.
Smoking in a final, that's confident. That's confident.
I'm not confident as in just fuck England. They've got to hear all the boys are going, it's coming home, it's coming home. And then they'll get absolutely pantsed in the final. That would be classic England.
This pasty blonde hair bloke next to me, we got to spray your hair brown, give you a big dirty mustache, give him
Mamma mia.
give him an espresso and a cigarette. I reckon. I got a Shawnee Esky Gouldy next to me. He's on the Italian bandwagon, and why wouldn't you be?
Oh, definitely.
We're all sucking it off the Italians here. Let's go, Italy. Let's bring it home.
We love the Italian sausage.
The Italian sausage, just spicy little suppressor salami, if you will.
No, I'm keeping it interesting. It's coming home.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're
coming
going to
up.
back the pommies over here.
Here's one for you. Shout out to Andrew Burns for this. I'm sure you're not listening. How can it be coming home if it's never been home?
That is true.
They've never won one.
Yeah. Well, they haven't won anything decent in a very long time.
Well, they won the
Imagine.
World Cup in '66.
Yeah.
But the European,
Long time.
it's
They haven't won a...
so it can't come home if it's never been out of the house.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. It's not returning? No.
We can't return.
No.
It's never been there. They're Euro virgins. Anyways, Sunday night. So early Monday morning.
Monday morning for us.
Monday morning, our time.
5 o'clock in the morning, I think, for our time.
I'll be on holidays. Up in sunny Hamilton Island. I'll be getting up early and trying to.
You're allowed to go up there?
Yes, I think so. There hasn't been any cocoa up there. We'll see what happens in the next few days.
Coming home might be a bit hard.
Yeah, coming home.
Yeah. Maybe the European Championship's coming home, but I'm not. All right, boys.
Do you want to run through some cricket? So that finishes up Euros and soccer at the moment.
Yep.
That's the big soccer tournament kind of happening. Copa
the
America,
Copa
actually.
America, yep.
So Argentina and Brazil final.
Sure, yep. Argentina, Brazil. I think that's on the probably.
Messi's been looking like Messi. So.
Hasn't he?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we spoke about it last week. How Ronaldo is the tied highest scorer in the Euros, and Messi's the highest scorer in the Copa America.
Yeah. But he runs in a Brazil team. Got Neymar there, so they're always going to be competitive.
Sure.
It's kind of expected. They're the two premier teams kind of coming out of Copa America. So
Do you know who has won the most Copa Americas ever? I'll give you a hint. It's not either of those teams.
probably not Uruguay. Is it Uruguay? No.
Look at this funny country. Uruguay. 3 million people in Uruguay, and I think they've won 15 Copa Americas.
There you go.
So more than Brazil and Argentina. There's a fun fact for you, for your pub trivia. And also a very old competition. I think, Monks, you might be able to bring it up. Yeah, Copa America. I think it goes back to the early 20th century.
Do you know the greatest thing that's ever happened to Australian soccer is the fact that we don't have to go through South America to get into the fucking qualifier.
Let us be top 4 in Asia or top 5 in Asia, because playing 5th in South America was fucked. It was fucked.
That's so stupid.
Oh, man.
Let's go halfway around the globe to get fucked.
John Aloisi 05, we did get it done.
We did get it. We did beat Uruguay to get in there.
Yeah.
We did. 1916, so 105 years.
Yeah, very old. And early on, it was a lot of Uruguay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Pub Avo.
Perfect. Perhaps do you want to run us through some cricket, please?
Let's do it. So, not a whole lot going on in the world of cricket at the moment. The West Indies have just wrapped up their home series against South Africa in terms of the T20s. South Africa won this one 3-2. In Game 4, the Windies won by 21 runs to tie up the series. They made 167 off the back of a Kyron Pollard 51. He smacked 5 sixes off 25 balls there. In South Africa, they got off to a good start with Quinton de Kock, made 60, but it was Dwayne Bravo with 4 for 19 that got the Windies home there to set up a really enthralling Game 5. The Saffers, they won this one by 25 runs. They made 168 off the back of Aidan Markram and Quinton de Kock as well amongst the runs. And Kasigo Rabada got the job done with the ball. He had 2 for 24. At the moment, England have just finished their series against Sri Lanka. The second game, England won pretty comfortably by 8 wickets. Sri Lanka made 241. Sam Curran, the star for the Poms with the ball, with 5 for 48. And Joe Root and Owen Morgan cruised the home team to victory there with 75 not out to Morgan and 68 for Joe Root. And then Game 3, in typical English fashion, was rained out. But it meant that England didn't drop a game in the series there against Sri Lanka. 3-0 in the T20s and 2-0 in the ODIs. Sri Lanka go home to face that India B side led by Shikhar Dhawan. And England are going to play short format cricket against Pakistan at home.
So is that, say, to finish this month up and then the series starts early August or end of the year? End of this month, sorry.
Early August.
Early August. Yeah.
Early August, India come across. So, they'll cram a bit of short format cricket in against Pakistan there in England. Hashim Amla, a little bit of a fun fact here, a little bit of a tidbit. He made 37 not out off 278 balls playing county cricket for Surrey against Hampshire. That's the most balls ever faced for a score of less than 40 in all of first-class cricket, not just county cricket, in all of first-class cricket. A few of our test purist mates, they reckon that's still better viewing than T20s. Interesting. You can appreciate the concentration and the battle that goes on there. And Barnes, loose bus change, he had a double ton as well this week in county cricket. I think you're actually playing in the twos. I'm not sure how that worked. It might have been a COVID-related thing. But, yeah, good to see him amongst the runs. And speaking of Australians, the Aussies play the West Indies. 5-game T20 series starts Friday night their time, early Saturday morning our time. Yep. That'll get us into. Oh, do you want to? Let's have the squad. Yeah, let's have a look at the squad because I alluded to it last week. The West Indies T20
have they picked lineups yet?
Is fucking stacked. No, so they'll just have a squad and then going into the games they'll have the lineup. So
true.
So Kyron Pollard's the captain for the Windies. You got Fabian Allen, Dwayne Bravo, who had himself a day out against the Saffers in Game 4 there. Sheldon Cottrell's not bad. Fidel Edwards, aging, but also very good. Andre Fletcher, we saw him in the Big Bash, rocks the dreads. Another bloke that rocks the dreads. He's 41 years old. He's universe boss, Chris Gale.
Don't blush, baby.
Don't blush, baby. Shimron Hetmeyer, big money in the IPL for him. Jason Holder has captained their test team. Nicholas Puran, Dre Russ, mate, they are stacked. This will actually be a really interesting series. For us, Finchy goes in as captain. You've got the Agar boys, Jason Berendorf, Alex Carey, Dan Christian, I think he's about 37, gets a call up. So interesting to see if he gets a game. Josh Hazelwood, one of the big name strike bowlers there. Moises Enriques, Mitch Marsh, Riley Meredith there, big money in the IPL. Mitch Stark. Matt Wade, Zampa. So this would be an interesting series.
So Hazelwood and Stark.
So you're trying to look at frontline bowlers?
No, playing the test series.
Oh,
they're the only Australian test players in that.
You'd think in that squad the only guys, Matt Wade maybe.
He's been in and out.
Yeah, but
the other two pick themselves. So.
Yep. Yeah. Essentially,
interesting.
There's probably only three test guys there.
Well, the hope is that I don't want to say this is Australia B, but this is the Australia T20 team.
And they are quite different teams.
Exactly, yeah.
There's
different sports. We've talked about that.
Sure. So maybe Warner and Smith would be a shout to play in this as a T20 side. Pat Cummins, of course, comes to mind.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that.
Outside of that, you wouldn't actually think any of our Test players would be playing in this.
It's interesting you mentioned that, though, because I think both of them, they opted out from this. So
Smitty had an elbow injury.
Warner, I think
Warner wanted to spend some time with his family.
Labuschagne didn't get picked, and they didn't want to send him from England.
Yeah, Labuschagne, I think, was kind of put county cricket ahead of it.
I don't think he was happy about that. I think that was
sure. And
but what the reason I ask is just purely because the World Cup's coming up. Whether if these guys are going to feature in the World Cup, this is not a bad series to get them in and get them some game match time like as a squad. Be interested to see how this goes. I'd be interested to see what team they kind of pick as well, because we've talked about the guys coming out of the Big Bash League and who would you pick in your top 5 with Finchie, who had a bit of a down year but then picked it up towards the end of the New Zealand series. So let's watch and see how this goes.
And that'll wrap up our cricket news. Let's get into the...
So let's wrap up where the footy's at. So the Raiders Manly game has ended. Manly did get that game back to 24-16 to give Macca.
So Macca gets his 1-12.
Well, it was 1-12, and then the Raiders scored right at the end and made it 30-16. So.
So the Raiders won by 14 points.
Yes.
Jeez. Which means I've got a skull.
Yes.
I've got a skull. I think I might do that off air. The Raiders get a shock win against Manly, paying about $4.50.
Yeah, it was interesting. Manly kind of got in that middle period of that second half. They got almost 20 minutes where they had solid possession. They scored the 16 points, got them back into that game. The Raiders kind of were there and thereabouts, but then they got a little bit hot towards the end, and they got that last try there to put them away and get the win.
You know who this is a testament?
Plus 13. Bet on it.
You know who this is a testament to? Tommy Trbojevic. Because remember back at the start of the year, they lost their first 4 games. They were awful without him. Statistically, one of the worst teams ever through 4 games. And then he comes back and they just go ham. And now with no Tommy Turbo, they lose again. So, I think he wins the Dally M. Like with Cleary gone, even with
if he stays healthy the rest of the year, plays all the games, like even though he missed the first month,
so he missed 4. He missed 4 games through that, and he'll miss 3 through Origin. So having missed 7 games, I think he still wins the Dally M.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't surprise me at all. So then in the other game, the AFL game,
it looks like the D's are going to get it done. They're up 30 points with 11 minutes to go over there at Adelaide Oval.
Port brought it back a little bit, and then it's been D's all one way in the fourth to put them ahead.
So the D's are the opposite of the flat track bullies. They only beat good teams and they lose to shit teams. And Port looks like, we're speaking...
They played at their level of competition. So
that looks like they can't put away these good sides. So... yeah, very, very interesting stuff over there at a full house at the Adelaide Oval.
Might not be very full at the moment, I'd say. Yes, do you think people will start walking out, or 10 minutes ago?
10 minutes, you got to...
You stick around, 5 goals, yeah.
Adelaide not renowned for its traffic.
Yeah, true. It's easy to get home.
Definitely renowned for their shit drivers.
They have no fucking idea what a roundabout is.
Well, they don't have roundabouts there.
They've got a couple. And
I'll tell you what, they don't know what is. That's good English. I'll tell you what they don't know what is. I'll tell you what they haven't worked out. If you're in the right lane and you're going slower than the people in the left lane, you need to go sleep next to a mirror so you can fucking wake up to yourself. Because, God, it's annoying. Anyways, that's enough on Adelaide drivers. Boys, why don't we get into the On The Esky final round?
Yep.
I need to go for a quick whiz, if you wouldn't mind running us through the start of this card.
Sean definitely. Monks. So to kick off with UFC, UFC 264. Monks, can you find out very quickly for me where that is? I believe it's in Las Vegas, but we can confirm that. The first fight is kickoff in the bantamweight division with Sean O'Malley is, say, the big name. What's interesting in this, he's had a very late change of opponent, and they put it out, and then everyone on social media, especially all the bantamweights on social media, were kind of like, "Yeah, I'll take that fight." But instead, they've taken how do you say his last name, Monks? Chris Moutinho.
Martino?
Good enough. He's going to make his UFC debut, so he actually hasn't fought in the UFC before. Hard to say. Sugar Sean O'Malley is, I don't want to say a massive star, but he's a star on the rise. UFC is trying to build him. He's got a huge following. He does podcasts up the wazoo. People love seeing what he's doing. They love the content he produces. He's coming off a knockout in March at UFC 260. Really dominated that fight. Could have finished that maybe a little bit earlier. Only has the one loss, which he kind of disregards that ever happened, but it will leave that up to him to make a decision on. I reckon Sean O'Malley absolutely dominates this. It wouldn't surprise me if there's any odds on that he's very, very short.
Yeah, I can find odds. While I do that, it is at Las Vegas.
So is it Las Vegas? Cool, because that kind of goes back to what we were saying before about Nevada with their whole marijuana rules and actually, getting rid of those rules essentially. It doesn't surprise me. UFC is massive in Las Vegas. They go to that city all the time to have cards there. It's one of their premier spots for where they actually contain UFC events, and this is a massive UFC events. The next fight.
So just on that, I guess Sean O'Malley's still unranked, so I guess that kind of makes sense for that matchup. But he is heavy favourite, it's $1.10.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Yep. I think he'll win and dominate in this one.
Sorry, I have missed the last 90 seconds of the conversation. Do we know where this Moutinho came from? So it's his UFC debut. I don't think he's been fighting in any of the he hasn't been in Bellator or the PFL.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if he's doing the local circuit. I think he's got a good record coming up into this.
Yeah.
He's a bit of an upcomer.
Yeah.
But you don't get pay-per-view Sean O'Malley for your debut. Maybe this is a huge upset. I just don't see it happening.
Oh, God, no.
No, yeah. They're trying to build Sean O'Malley up as a star. Yep. They wanted to keep him on the card because he's a massive name. People love him. Yep. So that's why they've got a guy. They did have a shitload of I think Ricky Story was another one that said he could do it, but then said he couldn't make weight. Mm-hmm. And there was heaps of other bantamweights that wanted to get involved on this fight because, as Sean O'Malley is a huge name, but none of them in the end came through and got picked for this.
Interesting to see what happens. Can Moutinho hold his own against Sean O'Malley? He's 9-4 in his MMA career. Yeah.
The next fight is a women's bantamweight fight, and Peps, can you say Yana's last name for me?
Yeah, Kunitskaya. Yana Kunitskaya. The Russian takes on Irene Aldana.
I didn't want to say it because that I and T are too close together.
Oh, yeah. You're thinking a bit of a Carmichael Hunt situation there, were you? So it's actually an intriguing fight because it's the 4th ranked Aldana against the 5th ranked Kunitskaya. Aldana coming off a loss to Holly Holm, whereas Kunitskaya is coming off a win against Ketlin Vieira. Can't say I've watched too much of these ladies. Their records are similar. Aldana's 12-6 and Kunitskaya is 14-5. Monks, do you mind bringing up the odds here? If I'm being perfectly honest, out of this main card, these are the two fighters that I know the least about.
Big time. And I'd say also because I'm pretty sure Nunes still holds the belt for
she does
for this division. She's dominated that and cleared our house. So these guys are 4-5. Sorry, these ladies are 4-5.
Yep.
I don't think that probably reflects where that division is at the moment.
No, it should be like Nunes champ, and then everyone else starts at 11, 12, 13.
Yes. So
the odds, I think it's pretty close, isn't it?
It should be 4-5. They'll be close in this.
Yeah, flip of a coin. So Irene is favourite, $1.80. Yana is at $2.
I like how you went the first names there, Monks.
Yep. I kept it simple.
Don't know enough about this Sharpie punting. Intriguing, man.
The next one, though, a little bit more interesting. Of course, the heavyweight with Bam Bam, also Tuivasa. I think is he Australian or is he Kiwi?
No,
he's adopted. Either way,
he's Western Sydney born and bred.
Beautiful.
He's half Indigenous, half Samoan, I think, or Maori. He's a blend.
He's a blend. One of the two.
Blend. I think he's got a podcast called the Half Caste Podcast.
Yes, but it's I think a bit of a comeback fight for him because he had a bit of a losing streak. He was rising quickly, had a little bit of a losing streak. I think he won his last fight from memory.
Last two he's won. So
there you go.
And both by first round knockouts against Stefan Struve, the Tower, and Harry Hunsucker. Hunsucker, I barely know him.
But he comes up against Greg Hardy, which is very interesting. Hardy kind of semi-fast track, big name, of course, being an NFL player in the past.
Former. Dallas Cowboys defensive lineman.
Of course, had the domestic abuse / drop charges, I think, in the end.
Yep.
Acquitted. I think
or drop charges. They're different things.
True. I think it might have been acquitted, yes. I think Derek Lewis was getting stuck into him about like why is he on a UFC pay-per-view. Yep. He's a big name.
Sure is.
He played for the Cowboys, which is
America's team.
The biggest team in the NFL.
Yep.
So, that draws eyeballs. I think he got stuck into Derek Lewis for being an ex-con at one point too. So I don't know where that all came from, but hey.
Those in glass houses, eh?
Pretty much.
What do we think here, boys? Possibly I'm getting a little bit biased and trying to get around Bam Bam Tuivasa. I think
I'd agree with you, man.
Yeah, I think he's a genuine chance, and let's be honest,
he's
it's
talented.
fireworks here. This ends via knockout. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I don't
see these guys going 3 rounds.
No, Hardy I think's had a few gone to decision, and usually because he gasses, and he's essentially still learning the sport. I think Tua may be too far of a step up for Greg. But if Hardy wins this, that's actually really going to fast track him, I'd say, into the top 15, top 10 of the division.
Name. Yeah, massive name.
It's a big name for a guy that, like Tua, made it all the way through to Junior, who I think was 4th at the time. Junior Dos Santos, that is. And, Junior kind of showed the class and beat Tua, peeled at a post, knocked him out. Tua he's gone away, hopefully, gone back over his game. He's working his way through. Stefan Struve, I think, is always there, about 10. He's a bit of a gatekeeper these days.
Well, interesting. Neither of these guys are in the rankings for the heavyweights. You'd think Bam Bam, if he can get a win here and goes to 12-3, has to bust into that top 15, surely.
Yeah, with like Walt Harris down, or those other 4 guys.
Tom Aspinall.
I think Tua,
Blagoy Ivanov.
To get a big high-profile knockout of a guy like Rick Hardy, who's also a decent name, will bounce him straight back up in there.
And here as well, looking at those ranking, Marcin Tybura is ranked 8, and he easily accounted for Greg Hardy in his last fight. But regardless, if Bam Bam wins, even if he doesn't bust into the top 15, we're going to see a shoey.
Yes. That's what it's all about, shoeys at this point.
It's the best. He's on the highest stage. The world's watching, and the shoey's getting.
Yeah, we've been a bit light on from shoeys from Ricardo, so some shoeys from Ty will be good.
It'd be really nice. Go Bam Bam. What's the odds here, Monks?
Yeah, so his favourite $1.72. Greg Hardy is out at $2.10.
And what's Ty first round knockout?
Ty first round knockout is $4.50.
It's not too bad.
It's a bit juicy.
Ty by knockout is $2.50.
So the bookies tend to agree. This one's probably not going the distance.
No.
Fireworks. That's exciting. It's very exciting.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I'm also looking forward to the next one.
Yeah. Yep.
The welterweights. You got Gilbert Burns taking on Stephen Thompson. Sorry. Second overall versus number 4. Burns, of course, losing to Usman in February before Usman, of course, then went and beat Masvidal. So this is, I think, his first fight since then. Was probably a little outclassed in that. Started pretty good. He did wobble Usman a bunch of times, but But in the end, Usman showing his class and got the knockout himself, working back into that fight and wearing Burns down. Stephen Thompson is an interesting one. Of course, 38 years old. He's getting there. He's coming off 2 wins. He had the trilogy of back and forth fights with Woodley at the time as the champion. He's always going to be there at the top of the division. He did get knocked out by Anthony Perez, I think, from memory, before these last 2 wins. Perez, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So he's up in there in the division, of course.
Great nickname.
Yes, the Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy. You guys don't get it. I was thinking maybe our younger listeners. You know Tenacious D?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Of course we know Wonder Boy.
Okay, so
This guy.
I feel like a lot of our younger listeners won't know
our younger
who
listeners
the fuck Tenacious D is, let alone
they'll understand who.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
What is the secret of your power?
Hopefully they know who Jack Black is.
Maybe.
But then again, I can't. Oh, actually, no, he's been in Jumanji. They should know who Jack Black is. He's been in some big movies.
Of Rock.
That was the massive one. Yeah. But I think that movie came out to make you feel old, like 09. So
I feel like it's older than that. I feel like we might have been in high school.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Monkey, quick fact check. When did high school of Rock come out?
I think it's well older than that. I think it's 04.
Yeah.
The School of Rock. It's
03.
03. Fuck me. Yeah. Fuck, we're getting old. Anyway, this fight, I think Burns is a step above where Stephen Thompson is at the moment. I'm picking Burns.
I think if Stephen can stand up and keep it like in a striking match, I think he might have the advantage. If Burns goes to ground with his grappling and with his jiu-jitsu, I think he takes care of Wonder Boy here.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because he didn't really try to push that against Usman, but then Usman, of course,
Usman's elite
wrestler. So why do that? You got to go the hands, and he's got heavy hands.
Sure, and Wonder Boy's got that kickboxing background.
Yeah, like karate background as well. So whether does he play in that world, or like you say, does he just try to go in there, take him down, and ground and pound him out? Well, interesting matchups make fights. It'd be interesting if Burns kind of tries to stand with him a little bit longer.
Super interesting. And I think Monks, the odds actually have Wonder Boy as a favourite, which is unusual. Yeah. Lower ranked and 4 years older, I think.
Yeah, so Wonder Boy is favourite, $1.64. Burns is out at $2.20. Method of victory is Wonder Boy by points, $2.50. So probably using that kickboxing karate style to keep Burns at bay.
They think it's going the distance.
Keep it a striking match.
Yeah, well, he can keep his reach and his distance because he's also very, very long for this division. Can keep him at bay because Burns, he's like a power puncher. So he's got that power and then wants to probably shoot in on you. So keeping him at distance, that's what he did to Woodley, and that's why they had the decisions in the draw that they did, trying to eat away the points. But I don't know. I think Burns maybe can get in there.
Yeah, I won't be punting on this. It's too close to call. I think this is just a real intrigue for mine.
Agree.
Let's go to the big one, huh?
The main event, Dustin Poirier, Diamonds himself, taking on Conor McGregor, number 1, taking on 5. Pretty sure Dana said whoever wins this will be the next in line to take on Oliveira as the lightweight champion.
Yep.
Poirier, of course, being 1 makes sense.
Bit harsh against Justin Gaethje, would you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. But, Poirier's there as 1.
Yep.
Gaethje, of course, lost to Khabib, and then, they had the Chandler.
Connor's the biggest name.
Conor is the biggest name, but if then Conor knocks off number 1, then you kind of like, well, it makes sense. He's just beaten number 1 guy.
Sure,
Otherwise, the better statement is the lightweight is stacked. There's killers up and down the list.
Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, exactly. So there's guys there that they can compete, and they're in that top 10. But this fight, Dustin McGregor trilogy fight. There's been 14 trilogies in the UFC.
It's a lot. It's more than I thought.
Yeah. None of them was probably super great. The biggest one's probably Frankie Edgar, versus Maynard. I can't remember. Was it Greg? I can't remember his first name, but Maynard.
Must have been an intriguing trilogy.
Well, that is probably the best one because I think Frankie won the first
Bring that
one.
up.
They drew in the second, and then they had the third, and Frankie won in that. But each one was like split decision. Like it was super close, absolute wars. The other big one I've known is Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. Junior knocks him out first one, and then the following two, Cain absolutely just takes him to task. Shows him that he was the better, say, overall athlete and fighter in this. And then
GSP, Matt Hughes.
Yeah, another great one. BJ Penn, I think, and Matt Hughes was out there. Liddell and
That's going back.
Liddell and
fuck me,
Couture.
Randy Couture, yes. Then Randy Couture with Tim Sylvia, I think is another one.
Miocic and
You got Couture, Belfort.
Yeah, Couture Belfort was Couture. I think had 3 in total. There's been a whole bunch, but
Miocic and DC.
Miocic is the only one where he's had the trilogy where all 3 fights were back to back.
Right.
So
They're all 2-1s. Hey, has anyone got a 3-zip?
Tito versus
Ken
Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
That's fucking.
Yeah.
That's back in the day.
And they had a 4th one as well in Bellator as well, which is not on that list.
Yeah, right.
And Ken and Tito won that too.
Any other 3-zips?
There should be.
I read that last week. So.
Charles Oliveira versus Lance. You
Nick
could
Lance.
almost count.
Well, so out of those 14, there's only one that's 3-zip.
Yeah.
Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock.
Yeah. And then Tito beat Ken again in Bellator to make that 4-zip. So
there you go.
A bit of bad blood there. Anyway,
Stop
speaking of this,
backwards, let's look forwards to this Saturday night / Sunday.
I'm pretty sure everyone knows the history. McGregor won the first one by TKO. Poirier won the second one in January this year by TKO in the second round.
So only 6 months turnaround.
Yeah, killed him with the calf kicks and then finished him. Connor couldn't move, and then you just finished him and knocked him out.
That's a massive advancement in the sport, isn't it? These calf kicks.
So, I think Dustin came out during the week and said, I'm not expecting to throw any leg kicks in this because I know McGregor's all he's trained about is 1, to check it, and 2, throw them himself. So he's expecting more leg kicks from McGregor, and then he'll probably play his own game. So whether he's a bit of mind games, a bit out there.
Has Connor trained as much as Dustin has? Because from what I
have no idea.
From what I can tell, from the outside looking in, it seems like he's cruising around on his yacht. He's got all his endorsements. He's the highest paid athlete in the world this year, which is unbelievable. $180 million, according to Forbes. From what I've seen from the outside looking in, it seems like Dustin's had a proper camp and Connor perhaps hasn't been training as hard as he has. Coming off a loss.
There's a possibility. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a possibility that is the case. That, yes, he's been out there not doing as much. From other things, it looks like maybe he's trained more than the last fight, but it's hard to say. He's definitely kicked up the shit talking in this one.
Big time.
Bringing Poirier's wife into this about her trying to slide into his DMs. But then the following...
Which is bullshit.
Yeah. Well, the following joke was she was sliding his DMs to then ask him to actually commit on his donation that he said
That's what it was about, charity. That's what it was about. She was asking him to donate what he said he would donate.
Yeah.
So, look, does Connor actually believe this shit? Probably not. He just knows...
No idea.
That it plays into the theatre, the build-up of the whole thing. It's probably good from a marketing point of view. You can get 3 morons on the other side of the world that drink beer and like to speculate about it, talking about it. So it's probably not actually a dig at Dustin Poirier's wife in terms of it meaning anything.
No, he's not sliding in his DMs to It's not like Tinder or anything like that.
No. Anyways, shit talking aside, what do we reckon here, boys? It's a trilogy. It's obviously 1 apiece. Poirier, the winner of the last one. What do we think?
Well, I said leading up to the last one, I thought Dustin was a class above Connor. I don't think too much has changed since then.
Yep.
it's really what has Connor been doing. And like you alluded to, like if he's been out there training, then maybe he's progressed far enough that he's caught up to Dustin, and this will be more of a competitive fight than the second one was. But I'm still leaning towards Dustin. I think Dustin Oliveira is what's next. He'll get past McGregor. He's happy to fight McGregor because he's getting paid. He's getting absolutely paid.
Yeah, of course.
McGregor's getting paid, but Dustin, of course, will get his own crumb out of this. So I just don't think Connor's closed that gap enough for where they're at. But it'd be really, really interesting if Connor has closed that gap. This will be a much more competitive fight. Don't think he has the knockout power at lightweight that he did at featherweight. But I'm confident this will be very entertaining to watch. I hope.
I tend to agree with you. I think Dustin, coming off a win, probably been training harder. Hard to go against him. Intriguing contest, obviously, between one of the biggest names ever to fight in the UFC. It's if whoever wins this is probably going to get fast tracked to take on the champ in Oliveira. Can't wait.
So I'm picking Dustin.
I've gone Dustin. Monk's odds and your tip?
It's a hard pick. I guess it comes down to who McGregor has been training with. If he's had a good camp, I reckon he could probably pull ahead. If he's just had people that's just been blowing steam up his ass, then he's got nothing to it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go McGregor.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll keep it interesting. So
I find it super hard to doubt McGregor these days because a lot of people doubted him going into that Aldo fight. Like Aldo's the best featherweight of all time. He's had the belt for the last 10 years. And then he came out and smoked him. He was like,
stuck in mud. He's stuck in mud.
Yeah, it was like, why do we ever doubt this bloke? And, he then went on that awesome run. So it's really hard to doubt where he's at. But then you got to, there's, as everyone talks about,
done much since though.
There's levels to this shit, and the levels has progressed. And McGregor kind of, he went off and did the Mayweather fight. He'd done a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yep.
It's kind of come back. I don't think he's lost that edge, but he's just, he's playing catch up now. He's not at the head and the pinnacle of where the sport's at.
And I think that's probably where his head's at. Like he knows he's got his backup plan. He knows he's making money, so he can go into fights. He can want to win all he wants, but he knows in the back of his mind he doesn't have to win. So I think that's where if he doesn't get ahead in this fight early on, he'll just coast and then it'll go to decision and Poirier will win on points.
Yeah, we'll really have to see because from what, Dana's going to promote the shit out of the fight. And he's going to say, like, hey, he really wants this. He really wants to get back to number one. He really wants that belt again. If you follow the storyline, you could see Conor winning this. Then he goes fights Oliveira. If he wins the belt, then they'll go and Dana will go poke Khabib and be like, bro, do you want to come back? And do you want
wrestling bears?
Yeah.
Stop getting Hezbollah fucking.
Well, he's in the States. He's training at ATT, so he's there as like they're essentially one of their head trainers under their head coach. I've seen some of the videos of him. They're like leaning in the sessions. He rides the boys so hard. I wouldn't want Khabib as one of my coaches. Probably wouldn't. I have very much less body fat than I do currently, if that was the case. But he's still young. He's still got plenty of fight years left in him. If he really, he basically said he's never going to come back since his old man died, and his old man was at all his fights. He's like, I'm never going to do another fight because he's not going to be here with me.
But Dana's like, hey.
Dana's just like, hey, if Conor's there, he's like, hey, this could be $100 million fight for you kind of thing.
Yeah.
Khabib might be like, well, fuck it, I'll go out and beat this guy pillar to post again, get my belt, retire again, give that belt away, and get paid. But
a lot of speculation.
A lot of speculation. So I can see what Dana's just like, well, if Conor wins, then I've got the story I could play out. If he doesn't win, well, I've got Dustin ready to take on Oliveira as the number one title contender.
Speaking of pay, and from the top end to the bottom end, the The difference.
You'd be surprised. There's not a huge difference in the UFC. It's much bigger in boxing than it is in the UFC. But keep going.
It's not great in the UFC. So Sarah Alper, I've never heard of her, but she started a GoFundMe.
Low tier UFC fighter.
Yep, low tier.
Lower tier.
She's signed contracts with the UFC. So essentially, once she signs that, it's up to their discretion. I believe the minimum amount these days that you can get paid for a fight is 10 grand, and it's probably 10 if you win it.
Yeah, it's like 10 to show, 10 to win.
10 to show, 10 to win, 10 and 10. So if you're elite and you can fight 3 times a year and win all 3, as a minimum wage UFC athlete, you can get paid 60 grand.
Yeah, well, that's why the lower tier guys, they will try to fight anywhere from 7 to 10 times a year.
Does anyone actually fight that many times?
I'd say they go pretty close. Definitely in
10?
Yeah.
7 maybe every
7.
2 months, every 2 months.
I know definitely in boxing they try to fight like 10 times a year.
But boxing's not MMA.
I know, but yeah, that is true. But definitely for the younger guys trying to come through the pro ranks, they want to fight as often as possible, especially the guys not on pay-per-views.
Yep.
Essentially, 1, get their numbers, 2, get their name out there, and 3, try to grow their career. Like they'll try to fight heaps to try and fast track themselves, which is ridiculous. You know, I think 3 to 4 times a year, where you get an 8 to 10, 12 week kind of camp in between each one.
Yep.
Is what you're aiming for. But yeah, the lower tier guys, they get paid fuck all. I think if you look at the last pay-per-view, outside of the pay-per-view buy points, I think on average the top guys got paid like 300-400K.
Yep.
And then work your way back. So some of them might have got, the next guys might have got 150, and the guys under that got 100.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that it's tiered like that, because am I paying to watch Sarah Alper fight? No. Am I paying to watch Conor McGregor fight Dustin Poirier? Yes. So that's the counter argument, I guess.
Well, the big chat, of course, with UFC, and it's been there for at least the last 5 years that I can remember, is 1, there's no union in UFC, and 2, if they then compare that to, say, the NFL, NBA, MLB,
the big 4,
the big 4 essentially, they're not quite at 50-50 splits, but they're at like a 55 to 45 kind of split on revenue, and then
athlete
payments, yeah.
And in the UFC, it's about 20, I think.
Yeah, 20, if not lower. Like it's the UFC makes bulk cash on.
So speaking about Sarah Alper, so she has started a GoFundMe.
That's 100% a fake out, but it's hilarious.
It is.
And
I think it's closed because it reached the goal. So her goal was 30K.
30, and it got it.
Which helps her pay for training for coaches, etc., to then help for the UFC.
And,
to get to her next fight as well.
Yeah.
And someone, whether or not it's the real Dana White, will the real Slim Shady please stand up?
It's 100% fake, but it's hilarious.
An account paid $5 to the GoFundMe from Dana White. That's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
So Fighter, it's actually a really interesting story, perhaps they bring it up, because Fighter Pay's been terrible in the UFC. If you compare it to the big leagues, the UFC makes fuckloads of money through their pay-per-view.
Yeah, of course they do.
They don't make the billions of dollars that the NFL does or any of the other big 4 does.
Yep.
They make, say, several tens of millions of dollars. So they probably on a year make several hundreds of millions of dollars, but nothing into that, multi-billions as we're talking about. But then the fighters, of course, don't get a huge amount out of that. What's interesting is they took away all the sponsorships from all the gear.
Yeah.
So they had uniforms to clean up the sport.
Yep.
But UFC announced today that they've got Crypto.com as their major sponsor to put on the jerseys for UFC. So if they're trying to clean up the sport, crypto is a little bit more left field from what you kind of usual.
Yep.
I think Dana was very much, if they're going to sell, they're trying to sell at ESPN. And they had Condom Kingdom and a whole bunch of different sex things. They had a bunch of car parts related stuff as sponsors on shorts to get names out there. Of course, that wasn't a great look for the UFC, but they've taken that all away.
Why wasn't that a great look that the car parts and the sex toys were being confused? Or
well, there's a bit of lube there, a bit of some oil lube and you make it work.
It's a big muffler, but we'll get it up there.
Yeah. But, they took away the poster signs. So they used to have the big signs behind fighters when they came in, which would have all their sponsors, which would have helped pay for training camp. Took all that away, essentially to clean up the sport. They pay what they get under the old Reebok deal, which is now Venom. You are right. Yeah, Venom has got the new one. Still, it's not a huge amount of money, and the only guys that really get any decent money out of that are the top tier, and it's still piss weak compared to what their fight checks are. So UFC fighter pay is probably going to stay until one, either they unionize, or two, it's going the way of what boxing is, which is you've got the top 3 guys in a division, they get paid fuckloads if they're big names, and then everyone else gets paid absolutely nothing.
Time will tell.
Yes. So
Nick Diaz, Robbie Lawler. That's been announced.
Yeah, final UFC news. Oh, not announced.
Not announced.
Lots of rumors in the works. Looks like it's going to happen. It's a huge story because we're talking Nick Diaz, not Nate Diaz.
No, brother of Nate.
Brother of Nate, older brother. I think he's probably about 35-ish months. You can probably
I feel like he might be older because I feel like Nate's about 35. So I feel like Nick might be about 37.
On the money.
Yeah?
37.
37? Yeah.
Monks, can you find his last fight? I don't think it's been
Yes, that's
5 years, I think, if not more.
So a long time out of the game.
Bloke that fought Anderson Silva has been there and thereabouts. I think he was going to – there was talk about him taking on Connor at one point. I think there was talk about him taking on Masvidal to revenge, Nate after his loss.
Good fucking luck.
For the BMF. So Nick's the OG gangster. Like Nate learnt all his
of course,
stuff from his older brother. So Robbie Lawler, an excellent fight. This is a fight from 17 years ago when they were both 20 and 18 at the time. Like, very, very young. If they get this done, it'll be amazing for the sport. I'm really looking forward to that in September.
Mate, and I'm a big, ruthless Robbie Lawler fan. I thought...
I don't think he's fought since he lost to Funky Time.
Years.
And Ben Askren. So,
yeah.
Which was probably before COVID. Yeah, shit.
Years. It'll be 2018 maybe.
Yeah. How did Robbie Lawler lose to Ben Askren, who then... Actually, I do know, wrestling. He then got knocked out by Jake Paul.
Well, different sports. That's what it is.
Yeah, different sports. And, Ben Askren coming off a hip replacement probably doesn't help.
Robbie's 39 and his last... No, he fought last year against Neil Magny.
Yeah, and Cody Cobblington after the Ben Askren fight.
Yeah, fought Colby. So there you go. He's had 3 fights in the last 4 years.
Both those losing decisions, unfortunately, for him.
And 4 fight loss slide.
Streak.
Slide.
Yeah.
Slide. Streaks a win, slides a loss.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, because you look at that, because he had that loss against Woodley, which he had the belt. And then he had that win against Donald Cerrone, Cowboy.
Yep.
Kind of keep him there and thereabouts. And then, a little bit of slide, as you say. So
Nick's
Nick's a huge name. Nick's a huge name for hardcores.
Robbie Lawler's a big name for hardcores.
Well, Robbie Lawler's probably a bigger name for casuals than Nick is. Nick is for the hardcores that have been, missing him. But then you had Diaz on the end of it. You'd be like, oh, so he's Nate Diaz's older brother. And then you hopefully get some casual fans involved in this. So that could be a huge fight.
So he last fought 2015. It was a no contest against Anderson Silva.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Nick Diaz last fight was against Anderson Silva.
So Anderson Silva won that fight, but that was Dick Pill fight.
Yep, it was.
The Thailand Dick Pills.
Right.
And Diaz...
Camagra.
Diaz also unsurprisingly tested positive for marijuana.
That also. and then they tried to ban him for life from that.
Yeah.
Because that was in Nevada.
Yep.
And they're the ones that...
How the times have changed, haven't they?
Full circle, 5 years.
Yeah.
Excellent to see.
So moving from the UFC to a little bit of Australian boxing, Tim Tszyu, he got a comfortable win over Steve Sparks. He took that fight at the last minute. Sean, did you see this fight?
Yeah, I saw a bit of it. Tim Zoo kind of controlled the entire fight. It was pretty comfortable. Showed that he's an elite class. Won this by knockout by body shots, and there were some crippling body shots, uppercuts definitely to the liver and rib area. It was over before it really even got started. Unfortunate that Michael Zarafa couldn't wasn't game enough to come up to Newcastle, considering they're playing Origin there for 20,000 fans.
Sorry, I didn't make myself clear.
He's
Pussy.
Yeah, I'd say he's missed a complete trick here because I'd say Zoo's he's looking international. He's looking at the guys ranked top 10, top 5 in that division because he wants to get in that contention. I think he's ranked 1, 3, and 3 from memory in the different boxing divisions, boxing championships for his division, I think is how it works out.
Get that man a world title fight.
Yeah, he's there and thereabouts, as we've been saying all night. So he's going to be pretty close to getting those. I think the issue is he's Australian. A lot of his fights have been in Australia. Not as big a name to say sell into the Americanas.
Yep.
But I'd say put him on one of those things and he'll dominate and then show his class. I don't think he's too far away. And I really want to see him on that level with the premier kind of boxers and see how he goes.
Yeah, love to see it.
Yeah,
as a casual Australian boxing fan, would love to see him.
He's touted up all the Australians.
Yeah.
He's definitely the best boxer coming out of here. So we'll see how they go.
His nickname is the Soul Taker.
Yeah. I think that they gave him that after he beat Horn, I think, from memory.
Took his soul.
Yeah.
Let's roll into a little bit of off-season NFL news. So Washington football team, they've copped a $10 million fine for workplace culture. It's been pretty well documented that essentially Dan Schneider, their owner, is a bit of a racist. Possibly there's some kind of trickle-down effect there. But, it's a bit of a slap on the wrist for him. He's a billionaire. We were talking about it last week. So Aaron Rodgers, we were thinking he might have taken the COVID opt-out. It hasn't happened. Yeah. So me as a Packers fan, I'm thinking maybe that's some good news, but who knows? And Keel Harry from the Patriots, he's requested a trade very early on in his career. But I suppose the big news out of American football is this NIL bill. The NCAA, they've changed the rules. Mm-hmm. Did you cut? I'm a bit behind on this. Could you explain it to me?
Essentially, if you summarize it and boil it all down, they've said that college athletes, especially the football guys, because they're massive programs, can earn money.
And that's off their likeness being used in, say, video games, jersey sales.
Yeah, that, and then the usual kind of handouts, like within the state that, were probably happening anyway, but they're kind of, facilitating. It was like, hey, you can go down to the local Chuck E. Cheese or whatever.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Get a meal paid for. Like, they get a bit of extra handouts to help them through the college years. Whether they get some sponsorship deals, etc., we'll see how that goes. The big news, of course, was then Reggie Bush, because I think he took a $300K payment, under the table.
Cash money.
Of
Melbourne
course.
Storm.
But, and
that might have got a chuckle.
Yeah, from the Aussies, I get a chuckle. But essentially, he was branded a cheater. He's a big cheat, etc. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
He just took some money. Like, honestly, he's not a huge cheater.
Yeah.
They took his Heisman away from him. So the huge chat out of this was like, give Reggie his Heisman back. Like, everyone knows that he's not a cheat. Mm-hmm. He wasn't doing roids or anything like that. Like, he had one of the most dominant seasons of all time.
There at UFC.
Yeah. So, it's good for the players. And one of the head coaches came out and said, if players play, before this got approved, if players get played, I'm never going to be a head coach again. And it's like, well, fuck you, go. But the idea is, the schools, and you take the big schools like Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, etc. They make so much money off these guys and they get nothing.
Yep.
But then the flip side of that is like, well, you get a scholarship, you get an education, you hopefully get a degree out of that.
But the schools get more off you.
Exactly.
You get off the school.
I don't think if those guys go into those schools probably don't use their degree overly much until they're hopefully in their late 40s after a long NFL career. So it's like, hey, can you help these players out through their college years of also supporting them? Because a lot of them, yes, you get a scholarship that pays for school, but that doesn't pay for everything else.
Yep.
So it's that extra support is essentially what they're saying.
It seems like a bit of justice for the athletes.
Yeah.
For mine.
And that's the reason why they killed the NCAA game for a very, very long time is because, the players were like, we're using my likeness and we're not getting anything else. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of legal hoopah. So they was like, well, we're just not going to do that for a little while.
Yep.
So hopefully there'll be...
Great game.
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be one back and that can compete with Madden and make Madden better.
Maybe.
But we'll see how that goes. I'm assuming you talked about Washington and the little slap on the wrist.
Yep.
Dan Snyder was actually the head of that because he was probably the one that actually had done most of the sexual harassment.
He's a fuckwit.
Yeah, he's a fuckwit. Yeah.
I think we can say that.
And $10 million for a billionaire is a huge slap on the wrist. Like everyone, when I first saw that, everyone was just like, $10 million, that's a lot of money. Monkey, what's 10 mil of a billion percentage-wise?
1%.
There you go.
He was meant to figure that out. Yeah. But you mentioned the Rogers no opt-out, which is kind of big-ish news. And we'll talk a little bit more about Rogers when we get to the golfing section. Interesting. But the Nikhil Harry trade, I'm not sure if you saw how he requested that trade.
No.
I think it was super cringy. I'm not sure if it was a TikTok video or not. I just saw the trade. I was like, whatever. He doesn't want to catch balls from Cam Newton and obviously Mac Jones, and not real keen on what they're doing over there. But anyway, what Bill Belichick if Nikhil Henry gets traded, will not have a first round pick on the roster since 2013.
Really?
So in that time frame, I think they've had no picks in 4 years in the first round. And then of the other three, eight, the four guys, like Henry's one, and the other Harry, sorry.
And kill Harry.
I've written it as Henry. That's my bad.
Autocorrect.
Yeah, autocorrect, definitely. The other four have either been cut, traded, or not on the team, of course, anymore. So Bill Belichick, it's probably the reason why he trades away all his picks is he's not a huge drafter.
Well, there's a reason why he's one of the best coaches of all time.
Yeah, and they went heavy in free agency, so probably a reflection of where he kind of sees he prefer the vets and pros where he kind of knows what they've got versus the risky draft prospects.
That'll wrap up the NFL.
Yeah, that'll do NFL.
Review the F1, please. The second race in Austria. What happened on the weekend, boys?
Yeah.
Well, before we jump into the race,
quick news.
Lewis Hamilton 2-year extension, which is probably bigger news than a lot of people are making it out to be. Because everyone kind of said, 2-year extension, that's cool. Lewis is going to be around. This is huge. Honestly, he's going to stay at Mercedes. He was umming about the 1 year last year, possibly retiring. Do I want to then take over Michael Schumacher's record for championships won? He's got to compete, of course, with Tom Brady and I can't remember the dude, the name. It was 114 hot dog competitions, but the hot dog eating competitions, that was all, that blew up on social media this week. He's won 14 straight.
I know which one I'd rather be the champion of.
Yeah.
Hot dogs are pretty good, yeah.
Sure.
He set my record, 76
yeah.
76 in 10 minutes.
That,
So, elite athlete, they're right there. But Hamilton, another 2 years. Whether that kind of signals that maybe he doesn't think Mercedes are there this year and he's hoping when they bring in the new rules next year, they're there and can compete.
Yeah, well,
it's interesting because that'll make him, is he 38 at the moment? 3 to 40?
Yeah, it might be a touch younger.
Younger, maybe.
Yeah. He's essentially saying, look, this year's probably done,
I hope
which
not.
is surprising. I would have thought that they would push a little bit harder. He's 36 years old. And then, I guess the 2 years is next year's going to be rebuild for new regulations because Mercedes, they're going to have to close a huge spend gap to get their car to where it needs to be.
Yeah, well, they've already got the cap.
regulations.
I think it's the £300 million cap at the moment across the teams, which is significant for Red Bull and Mercedes because they were spending more than that. But the other teams, not so much, and they can kind of get some parity. Which I think we're seeing a lot of good, and we'll get to that in a minute. In the
middle of the pack.
The middle of the pack competition's been
Ferraris,
excellent.
Yeah, Aston Martin's starting to come up the pack. But yeah, essentially that's saying Mercedes rebuild next year, 2023, I guess it is now, is when he expects to be able to compete for the World Championship.
Yeah. You never know. But next year with all the regulation changes, there could be, who knows what will have the best car at that and what adapts to that the best with all that new rules coming in. You'd think it'd be Mercedes and Red Bull, considering the class of talent of engineers and the team factories they've got there.
Yeah, Red Bull's going to be an interesting one because they are taking on manufacture of their engines next year. So they won't be relying on Honda. So they need to bring a lot of that in-house. And
so they were Honda this year. Were they Honda last year or was it Renault last year? I can't remember when they switched.
Good question. They switched the same year Ricciardo went across to Renault.
2 years ago. Right? He spent 2 years at Renault.
Yep.
Yeah,
it must have been then.
Yeah, so they've only had Honda then for this year.
Full season this year, I'd say,
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. So this race, though, Austria, the second race, exact same track as last week. Quick summary, Max dominated pillar to post. He was so much quicker than everyone else.
Yeah.
Comfortable enough that he actually pitted for new tyres towards the end of the race so he'd go get a fastest lap, which then gets him an extra point. He had enough room between him and second place. Second place was was Bottas.
Yeah, 20 odd seconds, I think. And
what was really good to see, Lando started second, finished third in this. Actually got ahead of Hamilton. Hamilton had his struggles with rear aero. I think he damaged some stuff on the curbs and was a little bit slow. Yeah. Which, slow, still finished fourth.
I mean, and interestingly as well, you can't really say based on how the race went out, but Lando did get that penalty close to the start of the race, 5 second penalty. He was only 2-3 seconds behind Bottas. So
3 seconds behind Bottas.
Definitely could have competed for that second spot.
Yeah. And, the week before we said Lando would be the only one to challenge. Last week we wrote him off because we basically said McLaren.
He obviously listened to On The Esky that week.
McLaren have, their competition's against Ferrari, and Ferrari did finish 5th and 8th, I believe, in this.
Yeah.
In Sainz and Leclerc. But if they're there, I think they've got a car that can compete. They've definitely got it quick in the straights. They show that they can get podiums. This is Lando's third place, I think, so far. He's got a few. If he can be consistent, I think I said this last couple of weeks ago, if he can be consistent at third place, then if the others, fall off, have struggles, then maybe, string a couple of wins together towards the end, he could be there very competitive.
Sure. Yeah. So that was his third podium. He's got third in the 3 that he's been there. Perez has just pipped him on standings at the moment, 104 to 101.
Perez third or Bottas?
Third.
Yeah. Bottas
is fifth.
There you go.
A little bit of a gap there, as much of a gap as there is.
Yeah, well, it's those top 4 are clearly dominating, and then Lando's kind of snuck himself into that conversation with the Mercedes and Red Bull. Can they compete deep? We'll have to wait and see. I think, as we talked, Hamilton and Verstappen's where it's at. Verstappen is starting to build a lead and getting close. I think this is Max's year.
Yep.
And at 23 years old, I think I saw a stat. He's already got more podiums than Jenson Button did.
Really?
And Button won, of course, he won 1 championship. He's super young, 23. He's going to be there probably for another decade. This could be his year with Red Bull. So this race, outside of those guys, the racing in the middle pack was where it was really interesting. Ferrari, Perez, and Ricciardo essentially were where the race was at. Perez got 2 5-second penalties for pushing Leclerc off the road. Ricciardo did his best kind of competing against Sainz late he held Leclerc off for a very long time, but Sainz had better tyres and then snuck through to take that sixth place, wasn't it? No,
fifth he got.
Sainz got fifth.
Perez sixth.
Perez sixth, but I think Perez got moved back because of his 10-second penalties. If you can do the quick math for me. Ricardo, very good that he finished 7th, started 13th. Kind of showed what he could have done probably last race if he didn't have the heating problems and the power problems.
Yep.
So I think Ricardo's there and thereabouts, and McLaren are competing against Ferrari. They did outscore him this week with 3rd and 7th versus 5th and 8th. But that's where that battle is of the tier 2 teams. Then you'll get Gasly has been pretty good. He'll float in there. I very, very liked what Aston Martins has done. They were competitive. That whole middle tier was where the race was at. So it's not a bad competition in the middle. Like I think the last 40 laps of this race, they didn't show Max until barely showed Max out in front.
Yeah.
He's that far ahead.
He's that far ahead. They're showing the battles in the middle tier of the field.
Yeah.
So that probably reflects where F1 is at for this year, unless something drastic happens in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. F1 very much like the NRL. You've got like your top 2 teams, you've got top 2 drivers, and then you've got all of these rule changes and stuff in as well happening.
Yeah. I will say it's probably better this year though, because last year it was Mercedes.
Yeah.
And then Max hopefully trying to push himself in there. Red Bull have caught up a little bit, I say, with Max, and Perez has been really good too. So they've definitely shown they've got pace there. McLaren are slowly working their way into that conversation, beating Ferrari handedly at this point, but they got to, of course, beat them to be the 3rd team. It's whether they can then start pushing themselves in that conversation of being not just the 3rd team, but in that top tier. Maybe not this year, maybe that's a next year thing, but they've got good drivers there, so we'll see how that goes. I wanted to get your thoughts, Marks, on the penalties. It was a bit like watching NRL of old school or an NFL game. Penalties galore in this one.
Pretty rough. So we're talking about Lando, who got that 1-5.
Lando got
penalty.
1, Perez got 2, and there was a whole bunch of other ones in relation to just driving stupidity.
There were, so I guess Tsunoda had a couple of penalties because
had the exact same penalty for crossing a line poorly to get into the pit lane.
Yep. So to get into pit lane, you need to be on the right-hand side of this lane for safety reasons.
Right.
He put his left wheel essentially on the outside of that lane by like 2 or 3 inches.
It's technicalities. It was...
But he did it twice.
I think he might have done it.
Rookie's going to rookie.
Was one of it
even though we're
It's a few
race.
inches,
race.
I think he might have done it in qualifying as well.
I'd be interested to see if he
remember.
did it last week and then they've picked up on it and then they will go and be a bit more strict on it this week, considering it's the same track. But anyway.
Someone, I can't remember who it was, might have been Vettel, got a penalty for exceeding speed limits in the pit lane as well.
Oh, no, it might have been Stroll.
Yes.
His teammate.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a bunch. But the big three was Lando and Perez twice pushing other drivers off the track, and they got penalised. They were in front, and the guy behind was trying to do a dive around the side.
Yeah. So
what are your thoughts?
So Perez was on Leclerc twice, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Perez on Lando on the other one.
Yeah.
So Perez was involved in all 3.
He was. So on the receiving end, early on in the race, it was just a racing incident. So they were both. It was really hard because the turn that 2 of the penalties
2
were
or 3,
on is a really wide turn, and you can fit almost 3 cars across on that corner.
But both the penalties on that corner was a guy trying to go around the outside.
Yes. So I think a lot of it came down to who was in front, who had the right to the racing line.
But I think the guy in front in both cases got penalised.
No, so Lando I think was fine. I think he was inside. He was only just ahead, in my opinion.
I think the Lando Perez one. I don't think Lando should have been penalised.
No, he shouldn't have been penalised. The first one for Perez, I think he got hard done in the first one. The second one, Leclerc was definitely in front.
Yeah, Leclerc was in front. Yeah,
and he got pushed off. So deserved for that one, but.
Yeah.
Very, very soft penalties. Like you wouldn't have seen that last
What is this,
season.
a soccer match?
Yeah, like F1 is doing all of these things, changing all these regulations, putting caps on spending so that they can make F1 more competitive. They want wheel-to-wheel racing. They want overtakes. They want a spectacle.
Yeah.
And then they've come out this weekend and be like, oh, nah, we don't like that.
Yeah.
Don't race wheel-to-wheel.
Yeah.
Don't push people off the track. Like, so I don't know.
What was interesting was, and I'll take your point, like all of the three, like two of them, the guy was behind, but I'd say that guy has dived into like a racing line or a small window, which is probably never going to result in an overtake,
Right.
Unless the other driver gives him heaps of room and they use the extra. It was green in this race, the extra green overrun space that they give off the kind of track. So you literally have one wheel on track and the rest of your car is on the extra curb to make this overpass happen. So there's, and then the driver kind of in front that, maintained his spot in line got penalised from the guy that was probably making a dive or an attack that was never going to come off. So it's whether, there was some chat about, whether other, to use the soccer term, taking a dive inside to then get a penalty on their competitor in front when realistically that move was never going to take out. So a little bit of milking to use some more
maybe
cross-code languages.
I think that Lando was fine for me.
I think those two.
He took the racing line. He was in front. Perez was definitely coming up on the outside. I think his push was just a little bit too late to get in front.
Yeah.
So that was where Lando had the line and pushed Perez
I think
out.
the first Leclerc one, there was no way he was ever making that overtake.
No.
And I think it was a bit rich that Perez got a penalty on that. The second one, where yes, he was a front.
Yeah.
You want those guys wheel to wheel competing in that, because to use the comparison, I think Jeremy Clarkson, who's a massive, of course, F1 top gear, the name,
Motorhead.
came out and said, definitely big Motorhead, was just like, just let the boys race. Like there was, even if they didn't win out in that situation and they went backwards, don't penalise anyone. Just like that's just racing, and just keep going with it, and Leclerc can come up and then try to make another overtake. I was thinking about this. We're at such a pinnacle of the sport of motor racing that they're so careful with, you don't want to dive a car inside and then you just ram that in the side of the other car and then they both spin out, whack it in the wall kind of thing. They've got to be so careful about and so strategic about the moves that they've got to be executed in a way that, wheel-to-wheel racing is pretty hard to do because you're such on the pinnacle and the edge of what this sport is capable of. It'd be really, not to use the supercars as an example, but that's one. It's an enclosed vehicle, so it's slightly different again. But NASCAR, same thing. They just bang willy nilly. They crash into each other all the time. But since we're at the absolute pinnacle of what motorsport is, especially for open wheel vehicles, that they've kind of restricted themselves a little bit on what the car is actually capable of. So that's why you get the processions, and that's why the overtakes, not a choreographed, but you need the arbitrary DRS where it opens up and lets you have a significant time advantage so you can make an overtake. Because the yesteryear of the 90s and early 80s where it was wheel-to-wheel cars, you'd be side by side nearly throughout the entire lap. It's just
we had
not
that championship where Senna took out, I can't remember who it was, the guy who was vying for the championship in the first corner of the race so that he could win the championship. Like he purposely crashed into, allegedly crashed into someone to win the championship. Like you couldn't see that happening nowadays. And I think one of the things that highlighted in this race as well was they penalised these like racing incidents, but then there were occurrences of other things that should have been penalised that didn't, that were more severe in terms of safety. I can't remember what they were. I just remember hearing that somewhere. So it's a little bit of, I don't know. Yeah, it's something the track can follow. So Silverstone not this weekend, next weekend. So back in England, we'll have the first sprint race. So where the new rules where they're going to have a race on Saturday of, I think it's 20 laps from memory.
And that's for points?
That's for points, and that's for then also position for pole sitters for the actual race on Sunday.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're going to have a short, sprint race, as they're calling it. I think it's 20 laps. Probably depends on the course. It'll be distance.
Okay.
So if it's 300 kilometers for the main race, they might do 50 kilometers for the sprint race, and then that'll equate to whatever that is for that racetrack. But Silverstone's the first one.
Yep.
Really interesting, because I guarantee is one of these cars has a major crash on Saturday. They're going to say this is the shittest idea ever, because they're going to have to rebuild that car overnight to get it ready for Sunday.
Yeah.
But I see that a lot in supercars, though. That does happen a lot where they have the sprint races on, because they'll do sprint races across days. Car will have a big crash on Saturday. The mechanics will work all night to get that car ready so it can go out on Sunday. But then supercars is very different to what F1 does. We're not talking about 300 million pounds worth of spend.
That's right.
1,000 people working on this year round. So
Definitely not. Yeah, we'll look into that, and we'll have a better breakdown of how the sprint race will work next week, I guess.
definitely. And final note on F1, unfortunately for us, the Aussie GP has been cancelled for another year, as well as the MotoGP.
Why are they doing this shit? Is it the Australian government that's doing it, or
No, it's essentially the restriction. So for F1 to come over here, they'd have to spend 2 weeks in quarantine to then do the actual race.
Yeah,
so a
they
race
can't
week.
afford to do it.
With their racing schedule, they can't spend 3 weeks in Australia,
that's
essentially.
fair
So logistically, it just doesn't work. So they'll postpone it for another year, and then hopefully next year they'll be back.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Let's go over to the Stanley Cup finals, the NHL, our favourite sport. We know heaps about it.
We love it.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, they've gone back to back. So
And dominated. Let's put it that way.
Smoked them 4-1, and the game they lost was in overtime.
Yep. Yeah. The first, I think they won the first three easily, especially the first two. Third one was a bit more competitive. Of course, the fourth one went to overtime. Canadians stayed alive in that one with the late goal there. But today, the Lightning in Game 5 did get the win. What was the final score? 2-1? They scored
one zip, I think.
One zip. Okay. They get the last score to then win that match. And then, of course, repeat, as you said.
Who was the last to go back to back? Was it Sidney Crosby with the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Ooh, hard to say. We might have monkey magic at the end. But it was...
I do have a list of teams.
Go.
That Peps might have been reading out. Yeah.
It's 2015 to 2017.
Yep.
So they went 15, 16, 17?
I don't know. I've got no idea about this sport, to be honest.
They must have. So the Canadians are the team that have gone on probably one of the longest running
we said they dominated
streaks.
last week in that 60s to 80s period. They were up. They won heaps of championships in that period.
Yeah, so I had 5 back-to-back championships.
That's unreal.
Back in the 70s or something.
Does not say.
The question I got for you, though, because we mentioned it off air, since the signing of Tom Brady in Florida and Tampa Bay, so we've got the Lightning that have won 2 championships back-to-back. We had the Bucks win theirs. We had the Rays end up making the World Series. Didn't win, though, but they've dominated that. The question I got for the Bucks fan at the end of the table, you confident they're going to repeat now, the Bucks, based on the current form of the city of Tampa Bay?
Yes, they're going to go back-to-back.
Oh, 4 straight. 4 straight, that would make...
As in, Rays are going to go back-to-back and Bucks are going to go back-to-back.
I was thinking Tom Brady's going to play until he's 46. Like, Jesus.
Yes.
Till it was 8,000.
It is.
It was Pittsburgh 2016 and 2017 seasons. They went back to back.
Yeah, right.
And then before that, you got to go back to Detroit Red Wings 97, 98.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah. So the only city that I could find to go back-to-back with 2 teams.
Yeah. Oh, this would be interesting.
Boston.
Yeah. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know.
This is such a huge, hard stat.
This is a hard one as well because it's outside of 3 majors sports. So it was
outside. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
outside of the 4.
4 majors.
Well, 4 majors, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because we looked at...
You're counting soccer.
No, so I only went 3. I was only So this is outside NFL, NHL, MLB.
MLB, yeah.
So basketball. There's
Yes.
Big Four.
Yeah, because Tampa Bay's undefeated in basketball.
Well, they've never played a game.
That's the joke. They're undefeated because they don't have a team.
So. All right.
It's a shit show.
Let's just get this over with. So all I could find was in 01-02, you had the Lakers win.
Yeah.
And then the Sparks, which is WNBA. That's the only time I've seen a championship.
Reach
go
and a
back to
half
that.
you've got there.
I mean, it is rich enough. It's never happened before.
Yeah, true. That would be huge because
So never in the same year has one city won 2 of the Big Four.
Not that I could find.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think we worked it out. Philadelphia made
Well, last year. But do they count as separate years?
yeah. Well, LA won 2 of the championships last year, and then and Tampa Bay won 2 of the other majors, and then. From memory, Philly went to all 4 in 1 year, but they went 1 and 3.
Right.
So they didn't. So of course they didn't. And then there's never been a city that's won all 4. There's never been a city that's won 3.
Yeah.
There's been several cities that have won 2. But the back-to-back adds a little bit of complexity to that.
Sure.
LA is not going to do it this year because no NBA for them. And they could win 2 of the other 3 remaining. So
Sounds like we need to do a bit more research in this one.
Definitely.
it's one of the most
It's
out
a
there
hard
random
one to.
stats.
Yeah. But if anyone does know, let us know in the comments.
Sure.
Yeah. Peps, do you want to tackle this goalie's name for me?
Yeah, I can do it. And it's quite sad, really.
It's a huge sad thing, especially considering Independence Day, July 4th is massive in the States, and especially a young man of this description.
Yeah.
And then considering JPP a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Each year but it is sad news, yeah.
Yeah, so poor Matisse Kivkanieks lost his life a few days ago. He was the Columbus Blue Jackets goalkeeper, only 24 years of age, got struck by an errant firework. And
they said a mortar firework. So one of those fireworks that gets shot up a long distance
and
then has a good explosion. So
and it got pointed on its side.
Yeah, fell down, hit him square in the chest. And the explosion... The shockwave essentially is probably what did him in.
It's horrible,
but
isn't it?
It's the worst. And, I don't think especially if you've been around fireworks and like for us boys, having fireworks growing up. Growing up Canberra. Yeah. You've definitely done some silly shit with fireworks in your time.
Yeah.
Shout out Tim Only getting hit in the nuts with a firework.
Yeah. I couldn't hear for 3 days once.
Like you can see how this can go very wrong,
Sure.
especially when you start buying the bigger fireworks.
Yeah.
And then you've got, the bigger impacts and this kind of thing. So
terribly sad.
Got to remember these, they are built in gunpowder. They're technically kind of like grenades. Less shrapnel, of course, but then the explosion, the impact, the
no less
the blast wave, that's the thing that really does you in. That's what they talk about in the science for all the bigger bombs. It's not the actual explosion of the bomb; it's the shock wave that hits you first. Yeah, is what does you in. So
no, I don't think we need to harp on it.
No, I agree with you. Massive loss for the sport of the NHL,
shout out to
especially
Latvia.
Yeah.
All right, let's try and wrap this thing up. We've got the tennis is going on, Wimbledon at the All England Club there. As Australians, I suppose the big stories are Nick Kyrgios. He got through his round 1 and 2 games. He pulled out with a third round injury.
Yeah, unfortunate.
He's barely been playing tennis, so it's pretty surprising that he got that far. And then as Australian fans, Ash Barty, she's through to her first Wimbledon semi-final.
Yeah,
it's
massive.
It's bullshit though, because they the way that they bracket them, you're more likely to face people from your own country than you are from other countries. So she had to go up against fellow Australian Ola Tomljanovic in the quarterfinals and easily dispatched of her. But now Barty's got Angelique Kerber. She's won multiple Grand Slams before, and on the other side, it's Karolina Pliskova and Ariana Sabalenka, the Belarusian.
She'd be heavy favourite though. Barty, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say, well, she's the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
But who knows? Tell you what, I think I might have mentioned it before on the podcast. Big fan over here of what Sabalenka has to do in her socials and TikToks and whatnot.
Yes,
Very
I'm
good.
pretty sure you have shared that with us.
Tall, strong Belarusian woman.
Yes.
Great.
We know how you like them.
Great at tennis. And over in the men's, Djokovic still going. Federer's still going.
It's Federer still going? I thought he got knocked out. Mark, can you quickly find that for me?
I can have a quick look.
Because I think he was playing his match today or yesterday, and then I'm not sure if he made it through or not.
No, you're right. Yeah, Federer got done by the Pole. Herbert Hurkacz. He goes up against Berrettini, the Italian. Djokovic has got Shapovalov. Again, probably the same as whenever we talk about tennis. Would love anyone that's not Novak Djokovic to win this one.
Did you see the media ask Djokovic at Wimbledon, and it's like, how do you feel about being the bad guy?
So everyone's starting to cotton on that he's a bit of a fuckwit.
How are you, the bad guy compared to chasing down Roger and Rafa's current record? And he shut the question down. He was just like, what are you talking about? That's a bullshit question, blah, blah, blah.
He used to be cool, man.
Yeah, he's young up and cupper. He's boisterous.
He's charismatic. He speaks 6 languages.
Exactly, but he's a flog. He's a dickhead.
And now you're like, he's an anti-vaxxer that holds tournaments in the middle of COVID and everyone gets COVID.
Well, he's anti-COVID, and then everyone got COVID. So
isn't it? He's an idiot.
Yeah.
So, anyways, go Shapovalov or Berrettini or Hurkacz. I'd love to see one of you guys knock off the Jock.
Jock would be heavy favourite, unfortunately.
Would love to see Ash Barty. Or possibly Sabalenka win this thing. Yeah. I think one of the big talking points out of this
was so huge. It's so stupid, but so huge.
Was Ben Simmons. He was spotted at Wimbledon tashing on with fit birds. There, he sat out of the Olympics. Famously, was talking about it. 10 days.
Individual development is what he wants to focus on.
His free throw, his jumper. And look, in his defence, there's no reason to say that he wasn't in the gym for 3 or 4 hours that day working on said shots. But as Australian Olympic fans and Australian Boomers fans, we would love to have had him over there preparing for the Olympics. And he's not there. And
he's at
Wimbledon. So,
yeah. Cozying up to Maya Jama, who I believe is the BBC anchor of some show. Absolute stunner.
BBC.
Yes. No, not the BBC you're talking about. The British Broadcast
Corporation?
British Broadcast Corporation. Yeah,
that was the one that I was talking about.
Yes. Yeah, that BBC.
Shout out to anyone out there with the BBC.
Yeah. But the memes, I think, was the big joke. Memes. I didn't say meme. What are you talking about? I said memes. The memes were the big joke in this. My favourite was, he has no confidence shooting a 2-foot jumper completely open, but he can go off after a stunner and a 10 in Maya and pull that. So maybe his strong suit's not basketball, but how many women he can pull. So
I had to see the meme, I guess. Golf. Let's get through. The Aussies go bang. Cam Davis, he won the PGA tournament there in Michigan, pockets a cool $1.35 million, his first PGA win. Lucas Herbert, fellow Australian, wins the Irish Open, 19 under, if you don't mind, through 4, his second professional win. And shout out to, let's say listener of the podcast, Dom Carmody. His uncle, he had $20 bet, thanks to our unofficial sponsors at Sportsbet, on both of these guys to win. One was 31, one was 91s, 20 by 31 by 91 and $156,000. So if he's looking for a little up-and-coming podcast to get around, maybe put some of that back into the community, I'll give you my number right now. Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau, they played Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson there at the Moonlight Basin in Montana. I guess a bit of a spectacle, but they're both very handy golfers in their own right. Rodgers playing off 3.5 and Brady off 8. So who got the win? Rodgers and Bryson?
Rodgers and Bryson did. I think they won by 3 shots.
And
Or four. Four, I think, by the last hole.
And something that is definitely confirmed is both these quarterbacks are really good golfers as well.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool event, and they each had their own cart, and they did phone calls in and out. Rogers had the AirPods in, though he's a majorly sponsored by Bose. Yeah. so there was a bit of that talk.
Bose, if you're looking for an up-and-coming podcast, I'll shit on these things. I'll put them in a dumpster fire. Love to have some Bose headgear.
Yeah, but it was excellent. Tom and Aaron played catch at one point while they were waiting. They were throwing a football and forth. But some of the quotes in the chat coming out of this, the banter was excellent. It was. Not just between the two quarterbacks, but also their pro golfing partners. Bryson, I think, I saw him hit a par 4, 394 yarder, put it like 3 feet away from the hole. It was like, what is this bullshit?
That's cheating. And at altitude, I believe, there in Montana, possibly the ball.
Yeah. He did crash a 480 yarder as well. Like,
look how beautiful.
Excellent.
Very scenic.
The scenes, Yeah, he's a big boy.
Look at the carry.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
300, 350, 355 on the carry. So that gets the downhill, and then
it does.
Very downhill on that one. So
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Beautiful course. Love to play there one day.
Definitely. But so some of the quotes coming out of this, and Rogers, I think, was the main one trying to dodge a lot of these questions. But Gronk was getting stuck into Tom about, you should be training while you're doing this. And Tom's just like, hey, I'm 30 feet away from my opposition. I'm studying him, the leader of the Packers, I think. so he wasn't sure. And then Gronk was getting stuck into Rogers about he looks more lazy than I did when I was in retirement. And sharing pictures of Gronk laying on couches with a WWE belt across his waist, having a sleep. Rogers was asked multiple times about what's his future holding, and he kind of tried to dodge them.
Yeah, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm a bit uncertain, not sure. He did. There was one point where none of the media outlets have quoted this, but he did say, "I was never unhappy with my boss." But I'd say his boss is probably more his head coach, not his GM.
Yeah.
So he, like him and Matt LaFleur, I think have got a really good relationship.
What about Guttekunst?
Yeah, Guttekunst. He's not a huge fan of.
Shittekunst.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, that was YouTube. If you're monitoring this, that was me mispronouncing his name.
Yes. The shit bit. Yes. 3 hours or 20 minutes deep, so I think we'll be right.
Yeah.
But again, we mentioned he didn't opt out. There's still a possible retirement. He could even just show up one day at the Packers. Derek Carr's going hard on Devontae Adams at the moment. Yep. Like, hey, if you want to come to the Raiders, I'll do whatever you need to get me here.
No.
So
whatever he offers, Devontae, and I'm talking whatever, don't accept it.
Yeah, well, he's already talked about cars and other things. Anyway, but Packers, I think training camp starts in a week or so it'll be very interesting to see how we go with that. Monks, what are you trying to show me there?
No, continue on.
Oh, Phil Mickelson training all those putts.
Yeah. He did 3 back-to-back. I saw that. It was just automatic.
No, but outside of that, they did like a drill, and they gave him, I think it was 30 seconds or 40 seconds with a guy essentially feeding him from about 12 foot.
Yeah.
And he put every single one in the middle of the cup except for one.
Yep.
So it was probably...
It was just like back-to-back, just pumping him out. Bang. He was just going back and forth, just in his swing.
Like, if you will, the 3-point contest at the...
just pass, shoot, pass, shoot.
Yeah, and just automatic, just putting them in the middle of the back of the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last little bit...
Mickelson, good. What do you expect? So
he's a professional golfer. He's 6-time major winner.
Yes. You'd hope he makes those putts.
The big story, I guess, out of the upcoming Olympics is Sha'Carri Richardson.
And we've been talking about Moana throughout the podcast. So.
Yeah, well, she got in trouble for smoking a little bit of the wacky tobacco in Oregon, where it's legal.
Yes. And
her mum had died that week.
Yes.
So she's she's copped a month ban. It's very strange. 1 month, very particular.
Yeah, well, I think we quoted it before. WADA doesn't consider it a performance enhancing. They consider it a substance of abuse. And in a lot of countries outside of the US, that is still the sentiment. Not a lot of places as progressive. So WADA being a world thing kind of takes a view of that. Yeah, and my quote there is WADA don't fuck around.
No, they don't.
They don't at all. But lesser punishment than if it was, steroids or the like, HGH. So fair enough.
Yeah. So this is the standard that IOC and WADA has essentially come out with for this Olympics. So you can be a biological man and go in a female weightlifting Olympic Games, but you can't be the gold medal favourite to win the 100 metres in the ladies and smoke a little weed. You kid.
Nah. And the other thing is she didn't get picked for the relay team, so she misses out on the Olympics completely. So, yeah.
Check it out. There's a massive social media storm surrounding
US
US
athletes across all sports, considering, saying this is bullshit.
Yep.
But they're also contained within their bubble of the US, where it is a lot, like I said, a lot more progressive than a lot of the other countries are. Russia's going to Russia, if you know what I mean. What was interesting, I saw Ricky Williams, and if you know running back the Saints, he basically said, if I didn't smoke weed, NFL player, if I didn't smoke weed through my college years, I would never got a Heisman. So. And
what's he alluding to there in terms of pain management?
Exactly.
Yep.
Probably less so the marijuana, cannabis, but more so the CBD. That CBD oil's kind of really been proven to be a way better painkiller than the opiates is. You can go do your own research and fact check the science on that.
In reading it, and not in terms of...
you can try it out, yeah.
we're not condoning that.
We're not condoning any of that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, there's heaps of stories, and especially about linebackers, where they'd have to pump so many opiates, like painkillers, to then... just to show up to training because of the niggles and the pains they've got. Whereas something like CBD, which doesn't fuck up your liver and then fuck up your organs long term or is addictive, is such a better solution for that.
Yeah,
so,
no psychoactive properties in it.
Exactly, which a little bit different to some of the cannabis that a lot of people try to sell with the THC in it.
Sure.
But, Ricky Williams is an example. He also struggled in the NFL because he was also banned a lot and suspended because of his marijuana abuse. So, yeah.
I think, and we spoke about the Nevada Athletic Sports Commission.
Like we said, US, very progressive on this.
Yeah, I think this might...
ACT, where we are, pretty progressive on this as well. Some of the other states, maybe not so much. Yeah, mostly medical related, though.
But in a legal standpoint, you might be right, but in a sporting standpoint, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, well, Brett Naden was probably the last one, but he didn't. He was Coke, not marijuana, but he got a month, so we're getting better.
Yep.
But yeah, she misses out, of course, on the Olympics. The Olympics, as we said, 2 weeks away.
Yeah, 2 and a bit.
Yep. Jeez. Looking forward to that. And I think that does us.
That's us.
That's On The Esky for this week. That's been all the sports, NRL, AFL, as we talked about. That AFL match did end up with the D's winning comfortably, 96, I think was the final score, to 50-odd.
Yeah, 40-odd points.
Yeah, they beat them handily in the end there, running away with it in the fourth quarter. We will check in next week on the UFC and what the results are in that, and then talk a bit more about all the other stuff that's happening.
If you like this
Will we have an NBA winner by that point? Maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
We'll probably be...
I think it's game 4.
Game 4 or 5 by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we'll have a winner.
Suns in 4.
Suns in
4, baby. If you like this get around our Instagram, like and
all the
subscribe
socials
on our YouTube.
Yeah, sub up. We'll do this weekly. Yep. We'll get all the boys around. We love talking about sports. We love hearing your comments and getting back at us, getting stuck into us about all the things you fuck up.
There's plenty.
Which is plenty.
There is a lot.
We love dribbling about sports. So thank you all for listening. That'll do us for this week. We'll see you all next week.
Catch you next week.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.